from Atlanta. The players are here. The stage is set. Let's get down for esports!
This is where we also talk about the new stuff that we've got coming out for you all.
HRX is literally my favorite time of year. It truly isn't close. This is what I live for.
It's that second place. I can't wait to see what first place is.
It's HRX.
It's time for the SMITE Pro League, everybody out there. Thank you for joining us. We have some stellar matches lined up for you today. In fact, one set that up until yesterday I would have thought was looking like a stomp. I got Ryan Aggro Bailey right here next to me to help me break everything down. But before I bring him in, there's no need to do that just yet. I want to tell you all about High Res Expo. That's going to be coming up in November. Pick up your tickets right now to highresexpo.com. If you think it's fun when we make fun of Ryan here live on the air, you could do it to his face if you come to High Res Expo. You don't want to miss out on a chance like that.
Don't come up to me and make fun of me. I'll just be like, what? Who
yeah,
are
and
you?
And think about how funny that is.
I'll walk away and I'll be like, I just met some jerk. And then I'll tell everyone that you're a jerk and you'll be known worldwide as a jerk.
Yeah, you'll come to Aggro, you'll make fun of him, he'll be like, but I stack cups really fast, and you'll be like, that's not very impressive.
Well, I mean, look, I know I'm not as clean as I used to be, Finch, but I'll get there one day.
One day, for some reason, he'll invest in that talent. Let's take a look at the standings, though, where all the teams in the SPL are currently ranked. Team Arrival up near the very top, and you'll notice some updates here to the standings right now. Those stars indicate the teams that have already secured themselves into High Res Expo, qualified to make it. Don't have to worry about that placement week. That means Renegades, Splice, and SK are still battling it out down there for those last two slots.
Really does feel like, though, the Renegade and Splice are going to be those teams. I mean,
Yes.
just look at it. They're 9 wins, SK 6 wins. They have a game today, need to win.
Yes.
Otherwise, they are eliminated from going automatically.
Yes, right now the best SK can hope to finish with 9 wins, so they would obviously need them to lose out in order to make it there. But here's how that path works out. Obviously, we're in the SPL phase right now where everyone's been playing, as you've already been watching. But the important thing is here in placement week, the top 6 teams get to make it right automatically towards HRX. That's why that at least 6th place is so important. If not, you'll drop down to that placement stage where there's 4 SML teams and 2 really strong console teams that you have to fight through to make your way to the World Championship November 15th through the 17th.
And SK looking like they'll be the top seed at placement week, but maybe not. It would all start with a win today. They didn't get one yesterday that they really could have used up against Splice, considering that, well, they need them, number 1. But number 2, Splice is the team they're trying to catch more than anybody else. Renegades today, if they win against Obey as we open up, they will be auto-qualified. Even with Obey playing very well yesterday, I would be floored if they managed to win today.
I agree. I mean, Obey yesterday definitely stepped up, and I want that to be the headline that everyone remembers. But it's hard not to say that Dignitas also didn't play up to the level that we expect from Dignitas here at this point, too.
Sure.
So I think that there is a lot to still be learned here from this match. I obviously will not count Obey out after what we saw yesterday, so they certainly could show up and win. But I mean, this Renegades team, they've just been beating everybody right now, and they play so much better than everyone else as a unit. It's so clear that they play with trust in each other, and that trust is what's putting them, I think, a bit out of reach.
Man, we haven't seen Renegades lose in a long time.
Since before MSI,
Yeah,
right?
before MSI. I got to get the date on that one. It has been months and months since this team has lost a set, and it's for good reason. They have been setting the meta. They are the top team in the SPL right now, despite where they are in the standings. This is the team to beat. Everyone's looking up at them.
And they certainly are, and really, if you could figure out some way to slow this team down, let the rest of us know, because no one's really been able to work it out here just yet. But we did have a chance to hear a little bit from iRaffer recently. We've got his interview ready for you.
Seeding is not an issue for me. I've always gone with the mentality at Worlds as I'll go in, I'll play whoever. If I play the best teams in the first 2 games, then I'll have an easy finals. That's the best way to look at it. I've won Worlds twice thinking that way, and also I've lost Worlds too thinking the same way. So you're either going to get first rounded or get to the end. We'll be saving strats for Worlds, saving counters for Worlds. It's about the long picture now. You know, like the long story of winning Worlds. Like seeding doesn't matter as long as you auto qualify. For me personally, seeding isn't an issue. So it's just improving mechanics really. But I don't think any of our players need that. I'm pretty sure Obey are going to cheese us. That's what I kind of expect from them. Whether it'll happen or not, I'm not sure. Whether they'll save it for Worlds, that's another option. So it could be anything that happens. I've not really watched Mineral that much as an individual. I've seen him in Ranked. I know he does a lot of off-roll and cheesy strats, so that's kind of what I'm expecting, but you just never know with these guys.
Well, you heard Raffer say that he was expecting potentially some cheese from Obey, but yesterday I would say they played pretty heads up in that surprise set that they won. I hope they were ready for Mineral on things like their Circuit and looking really good. Moswell's Merlin and Thoth looked very difficult to beat yesterday as well. I don't know, man. I think that they might have to prep for the real Obey.
The big thing they're going to have to be ready for is this no blessing start that Obey was really all in on. The Boots 2 beginning for both Weekend and Mineral really did make a big difference in that set. Dignitas very caught off guard by it. You saw one of the players tweet afterwards they weren't ready for that type of start.
Yep.
Renegades have the advantage of watching all of that happen and seeing how it played out. I wonder what their strategy is going to be to punish the teams to punish Obey when they don't get those blessings and try and maybe force them out of lane early on without the sustain for either Weekend or Mineral.
Well, there were a couple of games where we saw Weekend fall tremendously far behind, and you have to think that if he had an Assassin's Blessing, it would mitigate some of that. So I bet that's got to be part of it, right, is to see if you can not let them get off to such a good early game start, and then it's potentially harder for them to recover. They're missing out on all that extra Guardian's Blessing farm for Mineral, and then obviously the sustain you get from Assassin's Blessing in the jungle.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see what Renegades want to do in the picks and bans when it comes to picking around that jungle and support, because I do think those are the picks you have to worry about, because that's the early game for Obey, and then really Wowie and Moswell in the mid lane are all about that mid to late game team fighting. Dardez is going to have to play up as usual.
Yep.
He has for the last few months. I've got no concerns about it. That 3v3 from Obey has to be a little bit stronger. Weekend played well in the early stages and fell off pretty hard to mid to late. I need to see a little bit more from him in those mid to late stages if they want to beat Renegades.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I think they won that set yesterday with a relatively poor performance from Weekend.
Agreed.
And up until now, Weekend have been playing really well for that team. So if they can kind of get everyone firing on the same cylinders, then this OB team might be a bit legit here in this next match as we are in the picks and bans. Keep an eye out, though, on some of those picks I mentioned. The Circuit for Mineral, the Merlin/Thoth for Moswell in the middle lane. If some of those picks, if Renegades are watching yesterday and felt similarly, we might see some of those get taken away. And at the very least, they won't be allowing Obey to have the Thoth.
I like it from Renegades. We might see a first pick Circuit here from Obey just to try and keep Mineral in that comfort zone in what he was doing yesterday.
Ducky played a lot of this, though.
Ducky did play a lot of Jormungandr, and this is something that Nika likes quite a bit as well. He also likes the King Arthur, and Jormungandr thought of as a pretty good matchup against the King Arthur. So I understand why Obey is going with this first pick selection here.
Olarun comes in response from Renegades, but they'll get to grab 2. Obviously, no sets, no Isises, no Anhurs available, but we didn't see Geb getting particularly valued much yesterday. Amaterasu is a pick that's kind of floating up as well, so we wonder where her value will be in this game. But the Circuit coming in from Renegades, both the strong pick for themselves and obviously keeping that out of the hands of Obey.
There's the Geb, but this means that Boots 2 aggressive start is much worse immediately for Obey. I like Renegades taking this Circuit pick. Raffer can certainly play it in support. Wouldn't be surprised to see Cherio pilot it in the jungle either. That's a pick that he's liked during his career. So Obey go with the strong front line of Yorm, Geb, 2 Guardians up front, and then follow up with that Merlin for Moswell. With a Thoth already off the table, I think it makes sense to prioritize a pick for him here.
You know, I'm a bit surprised it wasn't the Erlong Shen for Mineral. They do like to give him that pick when he isn't able to get to the Circuit because it can still be an aggressive early game support. But this just says to me that they're probably never planning on going aggressive if they come to this Geb as sort of the fallback plan. It's a bit later game skewed. Obviously, he'll be very strong when they get to that mid to late game, but it's a question of can they make it there? They're going to need something from Weekend to bridge that gap.
I agree. I think this Obey, with one style yesterday, and Renegades are doing well in picks and bans to play around that style. And so Obey is defaulting back to what they've been doing in weeks past. And they didn't do a whole lot of winning in weeks past. So that does concern me at least a little bit. But the way they played the map, leaving the mid lane a little bit more open, allowing Moswall to get a little bit more farm.
Yeah, Weekend was really giving up a lot of farm.
Yeah, quite a bit. It did end up helping them, and so maybe they go with this sort of style, but with that same play style that they had yesterday. It could work. I'm not convinced that it's the best move, though.
I agree. I think it's a much lower percentage chance, but they did win a long game yesterday. It was like almost 50 minutes up against Dignitas, so they were eventually able to close them out. So it's not as if they can't play in those later matches, but obviously, statistically, they do better where they can get those early leads and end things relatively quickly. As the Amuse and Cobb Cupid both get banned away, correctly recognizing that they still need something for Wowie to play, and that Wowie tends to like physical hunters, but I think we saw him play the Chang'e yesterday too. There are some mages still in his pool.
Yes, he does have the option there, and he had a great game on that Chang'e, really. Had a lot of really impactful ultimates, at least through the mid-game. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see Obey go that direction, but he also played so well on Jingwei. I really wouldn't mind seeing him on that selection to try and keep this CC chain that Obey could have that's very potent. Merlin Vortex can't be DR'd. Geb knockup can't be DR'd. You toss a Persistent Gust in there, that can't get DR'd. I mean, you can really send some of these Renegades members bouncing up and down on the trampoline and getting them killed in that time.
I like this Osiris pickup there for Nika in the solo lane. It's just like you said, the King Arthur matchup isn't always great in the Jormungandr. I don't think it's a bad one for him per se, but this Osiris can bully the Jormungandr and force those ultimates, especially if the Circuit rotates early. The dot damage will still affect Jormungandr as he tries to disengage, so this could be pretty good if they want to go bully Ducky.
Ratatoskr being hovered, this is something Weekend played yesterday. You add another knockup into the equation. That's not a bad idea. I don't think with already how many knockups you have, and that will be the selection, and Jingwei would add to even more, so everyone would have a knockup on Obey, which is usually a pretty good sign, but you need to be able to focus those frontliners and create enough space in order to make sure that happens, and that's going to be a potential problem, I think, for this Obey draft, is how much separation can they create with Renegade's really good backline dive of the Circuit Osiris.
Well, now we get to find out if that is a Circuit for Cheerio or a Circuit for Raffer, and that Ganesh lock-in tells us everything we need to know. The Circuit is indeed going to be for Cheerio in the jungle, and Raffer will be piloting this Ganesh. And I think this Ganesh pick is so perfect for the way that Raffer likes to play, because he balances that in-between point so well. One of the best in the league at it, at helping out with the dive that's happening while also making sure he's in peel range for his carries. That's what Ganesh does best.
Man, I'm thinking about Olorun Sanctified Fields in conjunction with the Ganesh kit. I mean, the knockup will last an eternity. You feel like you won't be able to move at all. I mean, you get stuck on those Dharmic Pillars. You're going to be taking a whole lot of damage. I like the idea of these two working together. Easy confirms off of that Axe Stun to dash in or drop the Dharmic Pillars yourself. This Ganesh pick is the synergy selection, basically. How well can we work together? Renegades have been working really well together all year. I think this is a good pick for Renegades.
I think so too. Only thing that might be some concern is all that dive you mentioned earlier for Obey onto this Olorun. They're going to need to keep him alive. Fortunately, they banned out that Kepri early on, one of the best things at protecting people that are being dove. We'll have to see about that Olorun's positioning. Obey going to be going up against Renegades. I'll get it down to Hindu.
Thanks so much, Finch. Anatoly will be joining me for this game of Obey up against Renegades. Yesterday, Toly, we got to see Obey do the almost unthinkable in defeating Dignitas.
Which was not only surprising by that standard, but how they did it. Game 1, Dignitas winning that one.
But Toly, the problem is that this is a different beast in itself. It's Renegades here today. It's like going from the frying pan into the fire.
It definitely feels that way because Renegades are still undefeated since MSI, not dropping a single game there. 4 set victories out of Renegades in phase number 2, looking like the still contenders that they are. This is an innovative team, but then again, so is Obey Alliance.
Agreed.
We saw what Weekend and Mineral did up against Dignitas, already switching things back up to being more normal, question mark, with Mineral starting with a Guardian's Blessing.
And I'm a little bit worried about him playing a Guardian this game, not because his Guardians are bad, it just kind of changes the way Dignitas, the play against Dignitas yesterday, and it makes them a little bit more defensive with this game instead of the Erlang Shens, the aggressive supports that we saw a little bit more out of it.
Could be mind games. It's like, all right, you're going to throw a curveball at Dignitas, and you know Renegades were watching that set, so it's like, all right, let's kind of deviate away from that play a little bit more normal. I like how Raffer, though, is still doing the same thing that Dignitas did, is identify where Weekend is, don't let him do this invade starts.
Very interesting, though, because Weekend goes for that, but at the same time, it looked like Wowie did manage to strip away the purple on that left-hand side, or at least take a bit of the experience away. Right-hand side of the map, though, we did see the blue buff and speed buff secured for Renegades as the Ryan Harpies are contested, and confirmation there that Renegades did get their own purple, at least. Meanwhile, the rotation back to mid. The juke away from the axe was good enough to keep him alive, but now! But Cherio just realizing the damage potential he had with Dardes there, bring him down for first blood.
I thought there was a slight % chance to kill him there, especially, or considering that Dardes missed, I thought that chance heavily diminished the axe stun, but still, regardless, this Circuit is one to be reckoned with, and this start heavily favoring Renegades as Weekend almost gets chipped away.
This is that game, you know, at the beginning of the game when you get that first lane and that first Ool axe hits you, that first combo, you're like, okay, I respect this Ool now. Cherio is not getting much respect in this lane as Wowie stacked there a little bit longer than intended. Ate a bit of poke. This is all Renegades early, though. And I was going to mention, Tolly, that this is still a do-or-die situation to an extent for Renegades. They still need to qualify for the World Championships.
They do.
So this match matters to them.
It definitely does. They're only one set victory away from clinching that top 6 spot because of their start in Phase 1, only ending at 5-4. Not the most impressive stat line, sure, to qualify to Phase 2 of HRX, but man, the way they did it by winning MSI after ending 5-4, this looks like a team that not only is going to qualify to Hi-Res Expo, but probably has the biggest odds of winning it all.
Now, with how it's been played so far, we did mention a little bit about Mineral in the start that he just went down for first blood there. Obviously, being the Geb at level 1, you're not going to have the same sort of survivability, especially with Blink, not the shell option. So that does limit him a little bit. He's got to be careful with his position a little bit more so. I say that as it just seems trying to wrap on this rotation. He's getting CC pretty heavily. Shield on cooldown, leave him from Dardes. He's just trying to buy time for himself, and with a shield and a knock-up leveled, as you said, he's not got rollout.
Only level 2, so you didn't have that third option to get away as Weekend was trying to invade those back camps, couldn't really make the assistance. This is a very slow start from Obey Alliance. Something that they were able to do successfully against Dignitas was be aggressive and look for the invades when Dignitas were not prepared for them. And it looks like Renegades were definitely doing their homework, not allowing Weekend or Mineral any sort of aggressive invades.
And with this so far, 3 minutes in, we're already 1,000 gold in the lead for the Renegades. And gold isn't all important. Experience is.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest experience differences we can see there is on Weekend and on Mineral. Dashing from Weekend, though, looking to try and turn this around. Cherio will escape safely.
That was so cute. Cherio using his Cobra's Kiss for the DPS. The first one on the blue buff, the second one on the dashing Ratatasker as it secures the blue buff. Now, the second, hold that thought though, a little bit of action in mid.
Dardes once again just going to keep throwing these axes at Mineral's face.
So I was just going to say how like the second Cobra's Kiss might have been able to confirm the blue buff, but by hitting Weekend, it prevents any sort of follow-up abilities to steal away the blues. So great play.
Blinking from Cherio towards Mineral yet again, focuses on that Geb in the early game. Moswell steps up there, wisely so, just to try and deter Renegades a little bit and return a bit of fire. Mineral will be fine this time around.
And even though they don't get the kill, anytime you can force anyone back, especially a support, you're hurting them long term. The amount of time it takes to travel back from the fountain, you're not gathering any farm. Mineral at the lowest experience per minute, barely behind Weekend, by the way. It's a battle of 1 and 2 experience per minute, and this is going to hurt Mineral from getting access to the Cataclysm, access to the level 12 second relic, and it's Raffer that's able to just get that one step above his opposition.
And it's the 3v3 which is the biggest point of this more than anything else. The 3v3 in the middle area. Moswell, Weak, and Mineral all now behind because of it. Moswell's got a lot of work to do in this 3v3 matchup now because he's the only one with an equal level.
You want an aggressive mid laner, not necessarily the player, which we know Dardes definitely is, but also an aggressive god. Uller fits that style for Renegades, fits that style for Dardes, and fits the composition that Renegades has.
Cherio looking at rotate to mid again. Dharmic Pillars drop down, focuses on the Geb, who's trapped in the middle. And if he tries to roll away, he won't survive. At the same time, Cherio goes in on Weekend, knowing Weekend's only level 4. He has beads. I don't think that's enough.
No, it's enough. Trust me, that last
tick.
breath had about 2 or 3 more ticks after that one. It lasts for quite a long time. And look at the timing of that kill as well. Lining up perfectly with the blue buff, but Ducky from downtown.
Ducky's not used to seeing other walls like that, but he did just that with that Jormungandr there. That was perfect for him. He sees what it's like with the height. 4-0 then for Renegades early on. And this is very similar to an extent of what we saw Dignitas do to Obey in Game 1 yesterday.
It definitely was a very short game as that one last.
What's the record, Tolly? I mean, it was like 17-18 for that one yesterday.
Yeah, also the last game of SK matchup was like 18 minutes or something like that.
That's true.
But yeah, this is looking like a very clean performance out of Renegades, and that's to be expected with the current differential of the standings. It's not to say that Obey are definitely out of it, because they have come back in the sets before where they were down 0-1 against Dignitas yesterday, and having to win 3 out of 4 was difficult, but they accomplished it.
And that's the thing with Obey. They can't qualify directly to the World Championships. They have to go to the placement phase. But taking on opposition like this that are on the verge of qualification and doing well against them, already qualified, gives them a big boon to an extent to be able to learn and progress and get better as a team, ready for that placement phase.
They'll take anything that they can get, honestly. They made the switch on the support, going from Ionic to Mineral, Moswell in the mid lane as well, looking rather good on the Thoth yesterday as Renegades were able to identify that, banning that away in the first round of the bans, not going to allow Moswell that momentum from a distance, and playing the Merlin, you having to get a little bit closer, and that becomes tricky when Renegades has the more aggressive 3-on-3.
That's going to be a bit of a while before we see any sort of aggression out of Obey now. With Jingwei in the left-hand lane and Jormungandr on the right-hand side, kill potential doesn't really exist when Weaken's behind in the jungle for gank rotation. So the objective from Obey at this moment in time is just to farm and not give up too much in terms of gold and experience from their own jungle.
They just drafted a late game composition. Everything about their draft screams the late game, and Renegades are not going to let them have the early game momentum.
I don't know if Weaken goes in here, but he's considering it. Went towards Cherio, but at the end of the day, the red buff is still alive. 4 members group from Obey, but the buff will be taken away there, given over towards Dardes. Obey don't really contest, but Mineral goes back in on his own. Nobody else around. He gets bursted down. Can't be there. Can't be doing that.
A slight lapse of judgment out of Mineral. He assumed that his teammates were still behind him. He wanted to be in the prime position to get off a like 2 or 3 player Cataclysm, but it seemed that the rest of his teammates were content about farming, which they should. The late game draft out of Obey, you want to get the levels.
Always going to be careful. Doesn't recognize Rafa's back behind and gets silenced out. Didn't use the beads though, more importantly, but it did cost him the airstrike ultimate defensively. Won't be able to secure his own purple either as Renegades continue on this assault of the whole of Obey's map.
The only advantage that Obey can use, despite having this experience deficit, is the global pressure. But from a level 5 Ratatasker, I just don't see the DPS being that good. Funballer is very safe to farm with a Sanctified Field on top of it. Weaken without the beads, can't really get in there.
Level 10 for Funballer at this moment. That's insane. Level 10 at 8.5 minutes in the game, roughly. And then when you're rolling away with Mineral now at level 5, that's how big the difference can be between the highest level and the lowest at the moment.
Yeah, it's looking really good, I think, for Renegades to confirm the first game, because this lead is built off of no Gold Furies, no Pyromancers yet, so it's only going to get scarier once Renegades a couple of more power spikes, looking for Bancroft's talent from Funballer just now completed, more Transcendent stacks out of Cherio, wait till Nika gets a magical defense to make Mosswall less effective.
Ducky on this right-hand side, secured his own blue a little bit earlier on. That blue will be coming up again soon. Renegades have that blue buff area warded too. But I'm expected to see if Ducky can turn things around for his team when he enters the team fights. The problem is Jormungandr is really more disruption than anything else. He's got a bit of kill potential there.
He does have kill potential there. Speaking of kill potential, up in the sky, looking to gank the solo lane.
Yeah, good knock up on Nika, good stun after the fight, but Nika tanky enough at level 10. What is with the up-downs and these Osiris's? Every single Osiris has to do it. A bait for what?
No, the bait is you're getting a lot of mitigations from your passive, and you're trying to land your abilities to heal from the Gladiator shield.
Or you could just live, Tolly.
Yeah, Nika definitely biting off more than he could chew there.
Weaken, gonna rotate back in the jungle and get trapped. Potentially he sniffed out Rafa, Luckily enough, I think if Rafa wasn't there, Cherio would have probably killed.
Oh,
Weekend
Dougie
1v1.
again.
See, he's got that in the bag.
Yeah, he's just got a
No
step ladder
problems.
ready at all times to see over that wall. So I like the play coming through from Ducky. Nika, slight lapse of judgment there.
Yeah.
He assumed his passive would have been tanky enough to sustain himself with the Gladiator Shield healing procs to allow his teammates to rotate and look for some counter kills.
I don't know, I just think it's a bad habit from these solo laners. When we play the Ravens and the Osirises, I feel there's more up-downs than they should be.
Definitely wasn't. That's not like an instinctual habit play. That was a calculated play where Nika thought he could just bait.
Well, they ends up giving Obey a chance, at least for Ducky to get that kill too, which is just mentioning Ducky may have to have a big game here with how the rest of the map's looking. Well, he's now 2 levels down after losing that purple buff, and Renegades rotating 4 members over to the Gold Fury. Nobody in sight from Obey to really contest that, as Renegades extend their gold lead a little bit more so. What's this now, 11 minutes in and it's over 5k?
Yeah, this is where Renegades are going to start flexing their guns, honestly. Having Raffer now with the Gauntlet of Thebes, they want to take these team fights, seeing that heavily underleveled is Weekend and Mineral, trying to exploit that at every given moment, as if they can force Mineral out of the equation, it delays the counter stacking of the Gauntlet of Thebes as well.
And Coob on this right-hand side, not being looked at really. Weekend was looking to try and potentially gank Nika again, try and get Ducky some extra levels. But now Dardes and Rafa are starting to rotate around from mid a little bit more so. Like you said, flexing their guns, I think we'll see Renegades start to look for fights more often, knowing they've got a huge lead here.
And right there, just looking for poke, not a bad idea, because they're also going to be able to zone Renegades away from the mid lane.
Rafa has beads and used them to avoid the ultimate from Mineral. Weekend followed up nicely, but the damage just isn't there to bring down the support. Moswell wasn't around in time, and even if he was, I still don't think they had enough to kill Ganesh, but maybe Ducky can change this.
Oh, I don't think Rafa heard Ducky around the corner there, but good stun from Dardes prevents any real follow-up. Mineral without the Cataclysm can't really go for round 2, and I like the idea that Obey had there, because they knew that the Dharmic Pillars was used at the Gold Fury, so even though yes, Weekend is underleveled. Yes, Mineral is underleveled. Without that Dharmic Pillars, it becomes a little easier to confirm the kills.
Nika got aggressive for this blue buff and does manage to strip it away from Ducky this time round. But Mineral was in tow. He's going to force Nika back further. Weekend's coming around the corner too. Doesn't have Blink available. The up-downs from the World Serpent are causing some problems for Nika. Mineral doing a good job of tanking. That up-down was a better position. Now puts the pressure on Mineral because the rotation this time is here from Renegades. Ducky will take down Nika. Mineral at the back is going to escape though. I'm surprised. I expected Cherio to look to take him down.
Yet again going up and down, rooting 2 players in place, getting the passive for the 16% physical mitigation, 8% magical was not enough to survive. Great DPS coming through from Ducky, and the problem with Nika's build is he has all this health with the Blackthorn's Hammer, but not having magical defense allows Ducky to continue the dive. Now, historically, between these 2 players, there's been 27 games that they've played. Ducky has only won 9 of them. It's Nika that has the 66% win rate, but it's all about the team efforts. It's Obey throwing 2, sometimes 3 members in that lane, getting Ducky very comfortable.
Mineral just trying to de-ward around this left-hand side, but sentry battles will continue. Dardes gets the better end of it just by having a sentry in his inventory as well. Just force out a couple more there, and look at these. The Oracle Chalices. I like to see that they're being picked up again here.
Wow.
400 gold for them, and 2 people have invested in them so far. When does it work out as even?
8 wards. You're looking at 8 wards until you're basically even without having to spend anything extra.
4 bases, right?
Sure.
If you ward every single time you come out,
yes,
you go to base 4 times, at that point you should be about even. And every base after that, a bonus wards. Mineral could do with some bonus wards right about now, or some bonus lines. Fumble. Even going to invest the field here. Meanwhile, on the backside, Cherio getting aggressive on Woes. We can dunk down on Cherio. Cherio is getting low here. We can still looking for a kill, knowing that Moswell's on the rotation, but we can 8 more damage from Dardes. A bargain for, and Dardes missed an axe.
No, I think he actually anticipated Weekend trying to juke the axe. I'll give him that credit, as that was a perfect play from Weekend, though, stunning around the corner, because man, was Dardes primed and ready to throw that axe around the corner. Good hail of arrows through the wall, just wasn't enough.
Oh, bit aggressive from Cherio here. Bit of disrespect towards Moswell there. Moswell went, calm down. Listen, you're having a good game, but I'm still a decent enough level. And I've got to say, Moswell's positioning in this set so far and yesterday has been fantastic.
It really has been. A lot of credit to the items that he's been picking up, right? Doom Orb with more mobility allows him to make those aggressive plays while still having the safety to use that mobility to disengage if things get a little dicey.
Well, right now, Obey still trying to stall out as much as possible. They're starting to scrap a little bit better. Now that they've got a couple of relics online, a little bit more of these items are helping them out too. This next Fury, though, is a big telling point. If Obey are going to have a shot at getting back into this game, they're going to have to do something around this Fury. Might not get the Fury itself, but it could be a good fight after the fight.
I don't know if they actually even want to try to do anything on the Fury. I'm more happy to see Obey go for Pyromancer while that Fury is being used. Allow Wowie to still farm. The win condition has to be Wowie and Moswell, the two backliners, but the problem is Moswell is also a couple of levels behind, even without any depths. He's just been getting triple shared in the middle lane because of the ganks coming through from Mineral and Weaken.
Well, if you lose all your red buffs consistently, you know, it's going to definitely put some pressure on too, where your farm will take a tick down. Plus, the rest of the team needing experience means you're going to have to show them more. Always just a long, drawn-out snowball process. Mid lane, Moswell needs help and doesn't get it. 3 men were there. Cherio with a credit, but good combo onto Cherio here. The damage, though, is not enough to get him just yet. Ducky brings him down with the tremors. The up-down after that is there from the Willed Serpent, but it's not going to be enough to turn the game around. Cherio dies from Moswell. How do you feel about that?
Mid for jungle, a 3-level lead. I think that favors Obey, actually, because Cherio is higher level than Weaken and Moswell anyway. He was, what, 3-0 before the deck, so he was definitely worth more than the 0-0 Merlin.
Minril still getting aggressive towards Dardas, trying to keep him in check. Weaken, though, a bit of damage from that spear, and that shield from Minril was there just in case Dardas continued to commit, I feel, more than anything else. Now, though, Fury has spawned. This time around a Primal Fury, so is more impactful towards the later stages and those Fire Giant attempts. Renegades starting it up. Ultimate only really available for Funballer, but that is an Oleron with it. Makes it very tricky. Ducky under pressure, looking to try and secure the spit. That's what he's after. Instead, Renegades turn their attention towards him. The field doesn't really reach, but Ducky's still buying time for his team to get back into the play. The shield from Mineral bought him a second. Nika knocked up. Still Ducky alive. On the back of the fight, Wowie's causing problems. Weaken does take down Nika, and Renegades have overextended a little bit here, and Obey have punished them for doing so.
Moswell making a great rotation to make that impact. I thought Ducky was dead to rights because the Judgment Tether was guaranteed to stun Ducky that used beads on the silence from Raffer, but instead Renegades were kind of waffling around that objective. They left it at 5% health and still didn't confirm it even after Ducky had already used his spit. I'm surprised Renegades dropped the ball there.
I think that was more them going for the kill. They knew Ducky was going to commit, so all they wanted to do was keep him there, bait him in, get the CC chain, and pick off a free kill and maybe a fight after that. Instead, it works out in Renegade's favor. Sorry, in Obey's favor, because they kill Nika and they also defend that Fury.
They delay it a little bit longer. I think Renegades are still going to be happy to try again and reset. They're going to communicate what went wrong that fight, and I think it's not to chase. They poked out Ducky, so he was a non-factor afterwards. To commit to the red buff was ambitious from Renegades, and they're in a position where they don't need to make these hero plays to win the games. They just have to play safe, standard, and the late game, they have more experience than Obey Alliance, and it just feels like they have more cohesion with the way they played.
Really good work from Moswell there. Just see how he's there for that red buff spawning straight away, burst it down quickly, make sure Renegades don't even get a sniff at stealing that one away. Very important at this stage just to deny as much experience from Renegades stealing from them as possible. This Fury, though, still a threat for Renegades to look at. And we'll see how this plays out on this left-hand side here. 4 members now grouped up. Mineral could be in trouble again as he uses the shield on himself. He's now stuck on the pillars. He uses the Cataclysm, but down again for his 6th death in here. Weaken comes into play, but not how you want to see it.
That was cute to see from Cherio, using the last breath on one end of the Dharmic Pillar and then throwing him to the other one. Double minefield slow. Mineral just can't catch a break. But then again, at 0-6, you're not really worth much anyway, so I think there needs to be better target selection.
But totally, without that presence of the shield, it can make it easy for Cherio to give people some kisses that they may not want. Ducky's going to get one now. Not just from him, but the whole squad of Renegades that they give him a good old cuddle. Now Wowie knocked up, but can dash off the knock-up back to safety. Nika, though, round the back. Wowie goes for the airstrike to try and get the kill on Cherio. It does represent Weaken can get a kill onto him, but now Wowie's overextended and Nika will bring him down. Weaken now below half health. Will have to fall back. Minerals respawn, and Moswell's just waiting for a window. Nika's not going to give him that with the Thorns proc too. Moswell is hurting himself.
He definitely is. I'm surprised Nika just didn't sit under that fire with the
you
Thorns, but he's still going to go in. He needs to hit the one, doesn't get it. Still, Renegades walk away cleanly with the Fury, and I have to go back to how Cherio played that last team fight. He was perfectly baiting himself out, taking shots from Wowie on purpose to bait the airstrike aggressively, but what he didn't anticipate was Weaken blinking on the backside to play cleanup crew.
But it'd be worry for Cherio again. Like we saw the whole tale of that. I still don't think it was worthwhile for Obey to look for that any further. But of course, they're trying to make do with what they can get at the moment. Though 6k gold lead. Renegades now get a Pyromancer. Fire Giant looms soon from the side of Renegades as Funballer. He's so comfortable right now that he's semi-lazy back in Weekend, might try and punish this, but Nika is still in the area. So I think he'll change his tune about going for that option.
Yeah, I don't expect Renegades to get jumped on anytime soon because Obey needs to play catch-up. They have to find farm, scrape through the farm. Like how you're going through gold at the old Gold Rush days in the West Coast
for gold
side.
sort
Yeah,
of
like,
thing?
sure, that front.
I saw your idea. I'm like, listen, you don't go through gold, you're looking for the gold. I get it. 10-5, then 21 minutes in. Lasted longer than game one against Dignitas. So, you know, if they still lose this game, Obey, they could be like, well, they improved.
That's true. Now, the last time that these two teams faced off back in Phase 1 was about 4 months ago, where Renegades did find the clean 3-0 victory, but the first game was very close. It went 48 minutes in that first game. Renegades finding that one. Second and third game, not so close afterwards. It was about 24-minute stomps. But Obey are these kinds of contenders that can still make you have to work for your victories. And they basically drew their own victory against Dignitas yesterday.
Well, the Tier 1 tower is finally down in the middle lane there, so it's going to open the map up even more so for a Renegades to invade the left and right-hand side. Now they're on the left-hand side, of Minerals in an awkward spot yet again. Surrounded, bursted. At least he got his ultimate off, and Dardes will be punished because of that. Weaken gets credit for the kill. In the fight still going up, though. Cherio got a big ultimate off onto Weaken, and Weaken might be out of the fight because of that. Moswell, though, did great work to Funballer. Well, his position's pretty solid with the beads.
The knock-up as well. Wow, we getting chased down by Nika as well, ducking the backside, trying to do what he can. Weaken is trying. He gets the dart off for the kill, but Cherio playing cleanup.
4 for 3. Obey do come out on top of that just because of the level differential. The experience catch up from some of these kills. Look at the levels real quick.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost even again. Experience is really important on getting kills sometimes.
It is. I think the only difference we're really looking at is the two supports, but now that Mineral's over that level 12 threshold, no harm, no foul from him as long as he can still get off those relics. Now, I'm looking at that last team fight as Moswell did an exorbitant amount of damage. Like, even though the 4 for 3, yes, it was Renegades, but more damage from Obey because too much AoE, I think, that Renegades weren't anticipating. They were clumped up a little bit too together.
And take into account, Mineral wasn't really in that fight. Outside of the ultimate that he got off just before he died, sure, it's percentage, but at this level, it's not too much.
That's all that he needs to do, honestly. And the way Renegades are playing it is a nice touch because of these auras from the Geb support. When you eliminate him, now there's no Sovereignty aura, no HP 5, no physical protections, there's no Gauntlet of Thieves aura, no physical protection, magical protection for the rest of his teammates, making them a little bit easier to slay.
Well, it's also not just because of the auras, it's that shield. Geb shield is probably one of the biggest, most important things in this game for cleansing some of the CC. You take Geb out of the game, and it really does limit him. Everyone knows late game, I'd love a Geb at level 20 in my game every time.
Sure. And I'm not saying Mineral is 0-7 because of his build.
Sure.
But I'm saying if he was selfishly building instead of the Sovereignties, similar to how Raffer went for the Magai's Cloak, he might have been 0-4 instead of 0-7.
Renegades still not looked at that Fire Giant just yet, which I'm pretty surprised about. At the moment, they're continuing to farm. Wowie's now going to take on Cherio, not by choice here. Good ultimate from him, nicely timed. The poison will tick. Won't be enough for a kill unless Circuit can close the gap, but Blink being on cooldown, that won't be the case. Meanwhile, Renegades on this right-hand side start to send Funballer over here now. That's why you'll see Cherio on this left-hand side. The threat of the Fire Giant now does loom.
It definitely does, and I like the trading of ultimates. Cherio with CDR, unfortunately for Wowie, he doesn't have that same percentage unless he went for the fail knot, but that's not on his agenda. Going for the Executioner, Chin Size, and now the Titan's Bane, a more traditional style that we really haven't seen often.
Yeah, not much crit in this build at the moment as well, which you normally see a little bit more out of Jingweis, especially with a squishier composition, I'd say. You know, Cherio on that circuit, the Ool and the Oleron. Crit could have been a viable option. Weaken's going to the sky, though. There's a tier 1 tower being looked at. Weaken in early, didn't find the knock-up, but he went straight towards Dardes, who pre-beats there. What about stun? Mineral blink, follow-up, and there we go, Mineral. Into play he comes and makes an impact on that one. After the beads being down, now Renegades have shown their hand a little bit too much to Obey, and Obey have punished them for the attempt of a tier 1, but this might be too much.
Weaken a little too aggressive, he darts in, but he has the Geb Shield, of course. Cherio trying to make an impact. There goes the last breath, and there goes Weaken.
It does spread. Cherio, though, going to go down to Moswell. This does not work out well for Renegades. The 2 players that were doing that tier 1 tower and left end up falling down. The same time, the Oni Fury spawns. Obey could just strip this now. What can Nika do?
I mean, he could try to steal it away with a Sickle Strike. Not successful there, but I think he's going to lead the charge now. Raffer and Funballer in tow.
But the peel from Mineral and Ducky's pretty solid. Nika's health bar slowly whittling down. He's going to fall back away from Moswell, who is swinging for the fences every single fight so far. Obey did a very good job, and that Oni Fury is actually really important at the moment because these minions will now naturally push.
Renegades are still trying to make these hero plays, like diving that tier 1 tower with just 2 players, too frisky. You're better off just forcing a team fight around the objective where you're funneling all of Obey towards you. Like, look at the vision that Renegades has on that left side of the map. Wherever Obey goes, trying to contest that objective will be noticed, and easily Renegades could adapt to it, but it almost feels like Renegades are not bored necessarily, but antsy to the point where they're trying to force something out of nothing.
I think they messed around too much, personally. I think Renegades messed around a little bit too much with Obey. They played with their food, and now Obey have now started to bite back a little bit, and it's now Obey looking to initiate a Fire Giant. This could be dangerous, but Mineral now at level 17 has done a good job of catching up, considering he's, well, I believe he's 1-7 now. Weaken in the sky, ultimate already used by Funballer, though. Funballer takes a ton of damage from the airstrike. Weaken follows up, but Funballer got the Aegis off to stay alive.
Ducky.
Now Weaken needs a bit of help, gets it from the shield, but on the backside,
Ducky needs to peel from Moswell, doing a lot of damage as Cherio going onto Moswell with the flicker away. He should survive, but he's definitely going to have to back to base to heal up. I thought Ducky for a moment was going to dive onto Funballer, considering that he had no relics available, but instead the call was to save Moswell. Great discipline from Obey's front line.
Just looking at the ultimate situation, Minerals is the only one actually up at this moment, so we might get a bit of patience in this game, a bit of lull in action. The tier 1 tower is being down for pretty much both teams here, barring that little bit in the middle area. What is that?
Why is he dashing into that?
Oh, he's trying to make a play. They're trying to self-bait himself purposefully to think he was overextending, and it worked out because Ducky wrapped round with Wowie, and now he's a 4v5 in mid.
Yeah, Funballer should not have been there as an all-around, let alone a squishy hyper carry. At this stage of the game, you're not giving respect to Obey Alliance, and they're making Renegades regret it.
Punish them, Obey. Weaken goes in with a blink. Silence chain and the Dharmic Pillars really hurt. Now he's forced back for a second or two, waiting for the slow to disperse. Ultimate situation, nothing available for Obey. They've got to be careful here. Renegades have the Circuit Last Breath available and Nika's ultimate too, but they're still pushing in here. This is dangerous.
It really is. Cherio looking on the backside. He has the Last Breath available. Going in is Mineral, as is Ducky.
And Cherio goes straight towards Moswell, but can't actually find the kisses he was after. Mineral took a lot of damage from the tier 2 tower. Up damage from Ducky coming to play from the World Serpent. Good knock up on Raffa. Raffa dashes back to safety. Darda's knocked up for a second. Silence out from Raffa slows down Ducky's aggression. Cherio back in!
You're trying to make anything happen, honestly. I like the disengage immediately after. Knowing that Weaken was in the sky is why he didn't fully commit with the Last Breath earlier. Tier 2 tower still stands for Renegades. That's all they wanted. And that's all they need to do, honestly, because this is getting scarier for Renegades now. Obey Alliance, keep in mind, have the better late game draft. This early game momentum from Renegades isn't carrying over the way that we all thought would.
Experience is almost at the point where it doesn't matter anymore. There's one, oh, there we go. Weaken's now level 20. Supports, it doesn't matter that supports are a little bit behind. Don't worry about that. Experience means nothing. The Fire Giant, though, that means something big. Weaken Blink is up in 1 second. But the silence from Raffa will delay it. Blinking from Weaken. Spins in. Renegades get the FG. And they'll take the jungler's life. Now the charge is on for the rest of Obey. Wowie gonna airstrike in and out round to the right-hand side. Ducky trying to cause problems, good beads and good tremors, but Wowie's been isolated again. Mineral went into support, but Wowie got left alone. Good shield from Mineral though, and a better knock-up out from Ducky. The up-downs are good, but Wowie just can't get the peel all the while.
Cherio up against Moswell in a 1v1. Will zone away this Merlin. Mineral now left to his own devices, flickering away from the Cobra's Kiss, but can't get away from the speedy Circuit.
With Blink and with 2 mobile abilities, there's only so much that Moswell could do there to survive. This was a very strange game. So Renegades controlled it for a good 15 minutes. Obey got windows of opportunity and they climbed right through them.
But this is the experience that Renegades has. They know their timing windows. They know that they could have forced out that Fire Giant. And not only did they force out Fire Giant to kill Weaken right away, but the way that Cherio played that fight, zoning away the AoE damage Merlin, led them to this Game 1 victory.
It's a good point. It all comes up well for Renegades in Game 1, but that was not clean from their point of view. I still feel they toyed with their food just a little bit too much, and the food bit back for a moment or two. Obey are still in this set though, but if Renegades can get off to the same start in the first 15 minutes again, yeah, it could be a different story where Obey get blown out here.
It definitely was. Weaken specifically in level 1 tried to invade red buff. Yeah. Raffert saw it coming the whole time. Because of the travel time going back to his base, he was behind about 2 levels. Level 3 Circuit versus the level 1 Ratatasker.
And then not only that, we saw Mineral end up dying on that first blood, and so they put both the support and jungler behind. Obey just had to hold until the mid to late game, and they managed to get there. And I don't think it was much of them getting there. It was more Renegades allowing them to.
Definitely agree with you there. There were some plays that Obey did to capitalize, though. You can't take any team in the SPL for granted, even a team like Obey Alliance.
Completely agree. I do think Mineral either is for just his style in the early game, he's going to play the Guardians, or go back towards the Warriors. We'll find out what Obey choose to do in game number 2, though, right after this.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the SMITE Pro League.
So maybe a bit scary there if you're a Renegades fan for a moment, but don't worry, the boys hold on and do indeed come away with a Game 1 victory here over Obey, who are becoming surprisingly tough opponents. I got Ryan Agro-Bailey right here next to me to help it break it down. And for a moment there, it really did look like Obey was about to start coming back.
The early game, I was like, okay, I mean, this is what I kind of expected. Yeah, back to earth. Mineral on the Geb, really having the exact same performance that Mineral had on Geb weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, where they were really, really struggling. Renegades were consistently picking him off in that 3v3. And then I agree with what Hindu was saying on the cast. It felt like a little bit of an overextension from Renegades. They were getting a little bit ahead of themselves and what they thought they could get away with. They get picked a couple times. Obey get a Fury or two. You're feeling good. And then Renegades go, all right, boys, it's time to reel it back in. They go straight to Fire Giant. They get the Fire Giant, and Obey just can't catch up after that.
It's so tough because I think in that spot, with the the benefit of me being able to look back at the game, they have to give that up. You know what I mean? But in the moment, it's a tough call to make. Weaken goes in first, trying to make a steal, and then Wowie's there a little bit early ahead of everyone else. He gets pressured immediately, and everyone else does too, and it becomes this staggering effect. They were close enough where I think they could have made some base defenses, but because of the way that fight around the FG went, it just kind of all ended right there at once.
Agreed. I think that was the big difference maker, as well as Cherio in that early game. I mean, the 3v3 3v3 in mid is what I was worried about for Obey, and I think that we could see why that may have been a cause for concern, because Cherio, Raffer, and Dardez on that Uller just dominated in the early stages of the game. I mean, it just felt like Obey had no answers to this Ganesh from Raffer to Cherio's Cirquette. Raffer was really doing a great job of consistently CCing the composition. I mean, he finished at what, 0-0 and 16, I believe was his final KDA.
That's pretty good.
Is that good for Ganesh?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't get any kills, so obviously he's inting a little bit, but
Yes.
is pretty solid overall.
Yeah, Raffer just can't help but troll, apparently, on the Ganesh pick. I do want to give some credit to Ducky, though. I think that the Jormungandr play from him was not only very good, but deserving of that first pick overall for Obey this game, but it just was not enough for them come that late game. They needed someone else to be able to step a little bit more. And for what it's worth, again, I think that they could have. This isn't like if they had made a Phoenix defense and failed and they lost the game this way. I think that the call for that Fire Giant steal hurt them so much that, you know, we really don't get to know how well the team would have done in actual defense.
I agree. It's just one of those moments where you don't know exactly how low the Fire Giant is. You don't have the information, and you make a bad decision in that moment, and it ends up costing you a little bit. But Obey did things differently. I mean, if their early game hadn't gone that badly, imagine what they could have gotten done that game.
Agreed.
You know, I mean, if they need to pick Mineral a more aggressive god in the 3v3 in mid. I am done.
I think
with
could have been
the
Erlong there, right?
Erlong, I think, could have worked. If you're not going to get the Cirquette because Renegades are going to prioritize it, that's fine. There's other aggressive supports that you can go. Give him Horus, though he's also struggled on that. I mean, the Cirquette and the Erlong have definitely been the two that have looked the best, I'd say, overall. Get him first pick Cirquette. I am certainly there, because the games where Mineral is able to make a positive impact versus where we have games like we just saw, it's night and day for this Obey team. Put him on something where he can actually help your team.
I find myself agreeing. We'll see if that's the adjustment that Obey looks to make. And I want to give credit to Renegades clearly paying attention to the set yesterday from Obey and taking this team seriously here coming into the set as well. The preparation was there. I loved the way their picks and ban phase went to. They kind of boxed Obey into, I think, this Geb decision for Mineral. I mean, obviously, there's got to be some work for Mineral coming up with some more viable options for him later on, but we can't do that right this second. So right this second, we have to, prioritize the stuff we know he can frag with now.
And if you're in first pick like you are right now for Obey, take Cirquette right away. You clearly, Renegades aren't just taking it because they don't want you to have it. It's because they can make big plays with it. You can take it away from them, help your team by giving it to Mineral. I'm not, unless Renegades somehow leave open Persephone or Isis or something like that. That is the only god I would entertain first picking for Obey right now. I would take it over Thoth. I would take it over Merlin.
Jormungandr even?
I'd take it over Yorm. Ducky's proven that he can play other things at a pretty high level. Mineral, for me, has not, and so you got to get him the pick that he's looked his best on.
Well, Persephone and Khepri have been banned out by Obey so far, still keeping our eye out on any potential ISIS bans happening, and there it certainly is. Renegades, now that Obey are in that first pick spot, or they were last time too, but they didn't ban the Cirquette here last time. They were very willing to see if Obey would prioritize it early. I wonder if they'll do that same thing here again now that they know Obey have seen that they struggle without that support, but Obey are the ones banning it themselves.
Surprised. I mean, this is, Obey clearly is going to first pick the Yorm. That's what this picks and bans tells me, unless Renegades leave open Thoth, in which case Obey would probably take it because Fun Ballers looked so good on it. With Renegades banning away that Thoth, this looks like it's going to be another Yorm first pick. And look, Ducky's looked very, very good on it. Maybe you take something for Mineral here that you're worried that Renegades might take away from you, but I don't think they'll take Erlong away or anything like that. So Yorm first pick, I think, is the logical conclusion once you've banned away your own pick.
Agreed. Renegades on the other side. I think they first picked the Oleron in this spot last game. We'll see if they want to go right back to that for Fun Baller. No reason not to. It'll be the Amaterasu coming out. And in Minor League, we saw this in solo lane some too. But for some reason, I don't know. I feel like this might be going to Raffer.
It feels like a pick that Raffer could do well on, but Nika also loves this god. So I'd be surprised if it's anywhere but solo lane, honestly. It just feels like a god that Nika is going to be able to make a big impact on. Ama could go to Raffer, I think. It's certainly very strong.
Are you buying in on this Alma hype? I want to ask you as well.
Yeah.
You're here for it?
Yeah, she's really good. I think she's really, really good. And I love this pick from Obey. Something aggressive for Mineral in the 3v3, not falling into the Geb trap. Pick the Hercules, run it down. He played pretty well in this selection before. I think this is the right idea.
And this is a high execution pick. I really think Hercules support requires you to be playing almost flawlessly if you're going to be getting value out of it. I don't even mean max value. I just mean not going 0-7 because it can be so difficult to pick your spot sometimes. Where you use your abilities is so crucial. And you have to be like Aurora and Neilma and willing to just walk that line sometimes to be right up to the edge of throwing your life away to make a play.
Uller is going to be the pick for Dardes yet again. Renegades staying pretty true to what they did in the last game. I wonder if it's going to be Ama Jungle, just because that's where they picked Cherry's pick in game 1, and Cherry loves his off-the-wall junglers a little bit. You know he's down to take a warrior or a guardian into the jungle. I still think it's for Nika, but it is kind of weird to me that we didn't see it picked or banned in game 1, right?
No, I don't think so.
And then they top pick it here without any, you know, just because the circuit
really
is banned.
changed, yeah.
So that does pique my interest on if that is going to go solo lane.
Very interesting if it is going to be the Amaterasu in the jungle. I mean, that aura is going to be potent from minute 1, and that's one thing about putting her in the solo lane that's is a bummer, is that you don't have that aura involved in your team fights earlier on. If she's in the jungle, you certainly will, much similar to if she is in that support role. We'll see. As Renegades take a chance here to ban one away from Weaken, that's a Thor, and then one away from Wowie with this Cupid. The Jingwei is still there, that's a preferred pick for Wowie, as well as the Ratatoskr, a preferred pick for Weaken. So Renegades take a look, but I wouldn't say at the top shelf stuff for those two players.
I like the idea of banning away the Cupid. It just messes with Dardes' Uller, and you want to keep him really safe in this game. So I think the Cupid ban makes a lot of sense. I think Obey should be basically top-picking Thor when they get the chance. I mean, Weaken looks so good on this god in the early to mid games. Really struggled with it yesterday against Dignitas, so maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit of hesitation, as that looks like a Weaken pick to me. Guan Yu seems to be the jungler in this game to me.
Well, I think this does take a good deal of the initiation pressure off of Mineral. Guan Yu's cavalry charge is very good at that, and so they don't necessarily always have to have Mineral making huge plays with it. Obviously, this Jingwei will go to Wowie. He's really liked playing this pick here lately, but I think that there's a chance that with this extra sustain from this Hercules and this Guan Yu, that they could have a really strong team fighting presence yet again.
It's really going to be the focus Fun Baller show. I mean, this Guan Yu has to kill Oleron. That has got to be the main goal.
He's good at it, so
of this Guan Yu, and he's very, very good at it. Oleron's best peel option, Consecration. It's a knockback. Guan Yu's knockback immune during Talu Assault. CC immune during Cavalry Charge, so you don't have to worry about Sanctified Field. This is a good pick to kill Oleron, but it's got to do it successfully. Renegades Horus is going to be all over Oleron. Look for Rafford to take Oleron out of these fights. When Funballer's in trouble, under siege from Guan Yu, if Rafford just immediately goes to the skies and drops 3 or 4 feet away, that'll take him out of the stun range and give him a health shield. That's going to be a big interaction, I think, that we might see this game.
The last pick for Renegades was this Najah, one of the few things that Cherio might be even more mechanically gifted on than the Circuit, if you can believe it, is this Najah, one of his signature picks as well. So this is a bit scarier for Obey. I think they have a good draft, but Renegades have so many of the tools that they've made their names on. Let's see if it works out here in game number 2.
Thanks so much, Finch and Aggro on the desk. Back for game 2. Renegades just 2 games away now from qualifying directly to the World Championships. Seeding will still matter, of course, but they will at least be there. So make sure you get your tickets. Totally will be there. So
I'll be there.
I might go.
You're thinking about it.
I don't know, yeah. You
hey, Assassin's Blessing for a week.
What's going on? Why is he buying this item? Tony, why is he buying this item? Isn't this bad?
All right, so to be fair, Guan Yu needs mana.
Okay.
So you need to clear...
So why is he not rushing Talaria boots then, huh?
It's different. It's a little different, unfortunately. I don't think he wants Talaria boots on Guan Yu when physical power scaling with the cavalry charge is so good. You're only getting 10 power with the Talaria boots versus
mobility.
The 40 power. You don't need mobility when you're chasing them with your ultimate.
If your horse can go faster, you win more races.
You're not racing anybody.
You are?
Not at the SMITE
You're
game.
racing the ult down mid lane as he tries to get back under his tier 2 tower. That's what you're doing.
Okay.
Zooming after him. And to be fair, Najah, when he procs that Windfire Wheels, he's pretty quick too.
Sure.
You're going to outrun that.
I'd rather deal more damage with less hits than get there and still have more hits with way less damage.
I love the fact that you're the one focused on the damage and I'm the more like, but zoom in! It's more about
so
speed.
fast.
The need for speed. This time round, no crazy shenanigans at the beginning of the game. Obey managed to get their own buffs this time. No invasions going on. Red buff dropped down, given over towards Moswell, who's going to pick it up on the way back, I expect. But all camps down for both teams here. Purple now secured as both the supports have ended up in the dual lane here. Why has it been a switch up like this? Is this just because of the star wall? That might be why.
It definitely feels that way. Funballer's speeds are going to be forced out. Look at the rotation from Rapper.
All right, boys. Now Rapper in. Wowie threads the needle in time. Smile on his face. Not much Horus can do on his own, but he's got Cheerio coming round. Level 2. The option is to mineral. Mineral will have driving strike to get away. The knock-up from Wowie is beautiful.
Where Cheerio got knocked up was so important behind his own archers. He wasn't in range to get the ring bounces off. Surprised that he went on to Mineral, actually, instead of Wowie. Now, even if it is a low-health Hercules, he kind of wants to be low health. The more he gets hit, the more physical power he gets, so the driving strike does more damage. Those basic attacks deal more damage, and Mineral is very happy about trading 1-for-1 with Cheerio if given that opportunity.
We were discussing off air the fact that I personally feel Mineral is very much an aggressive support, and that's fine. You can be an aggressive support player, but give him aggressive supports then. Give him the early game is not that. You have to just get through the early game. Late game, he's great. But in the early, you've just got to position a little bit better. And some of these warriors that we've seen Mineral on have escapes built into their aggressiveness. The driving strike, the Erlangshen 72 transformations, turtle form. They're all escapes that game to reposition.
Taking a page from SK versus Splice yesterday, where Aurora played Hercules quite often, and that's why Obey actually bans away the Circuit despite being first hit, because they were leaning on this Hercules support. They already had that in the back of their mind when they were discussing what they could change between games 1 and 2, and that's the mentality you need from a team to win these best-of-5 sets, is how you can switch things up. And keep in mind, Obey, they were down 0-1 against Dignitas yesterday.
I'm keeping an eye on that Oracle's Chalice from Rapper this time too. We saw him last game, but I didn't know exactly when. I wasn't keeping an eye on when the purchase happened. This time, it looks like Rapper's gone for it very early on. This is going to make good use in a 30-minute game. You're going to base more than 4 times, as we were discussing, which means you're doing a good job of getting free wards, saving money.
Yeah, supports definitely need to cater towards their hyper carries, and Funballer playing the Oleron is very susceptible towards getting ganked. That Chalice Oracle gonna go the distance to ensure the left side gets heavily lit up. If there's ever a gank, Funballer can be prepared for it.
Well, one thing we've not really touched on yet is Cheerio back on his traditional Naja. And I say traditional because it's been one of his go-tos for years now. A lot of people in Europe realize how threatening it could be. And now Ducky could be experiencing that too. That ring toss hit him twice. Slash after the fact did, but Ducky just held his own for the timing. He's a tanky target in a Guardian like Jormungandr. But now if we can rotate him around, Cheerio's going to be careful about being pinched.
Gonna take a little bit of damage, waiting for the Tallow Assault. Good stun and the silence, but here comes the World Serpent.
Gotta land these shots. He hits 2. One more for good luck. Not this time. Cheerio in between the blobs on the ground. You do take damage from that, it's just not as much.
Yeah, too much mobility from the speedy Naja. Doesn't have tier 3 boots completed quite yet, just now backing to finish that off, but still a nice attempt out of Ducky, not committing beyond that tier 1 tower after missing the 3rd strike. That's the discipline you need to know when to reset.
Well, 3 minutes into game 1 and Renegades were up 1,000 gold last time. 4 minutes into game 2 and Obey are 1.3k gold, so about the same. The experience, though, is the more telling tale. There was a big difference last time round in game 1 where Obey were level 2s and 3s to the 5s of Renegades. This time it's still even.
Now, First Blood definitely helps Obey's causes there. And then also the 375 gold you're getting from that 3-0 Totem of Q advantage in that solo lane. Nika playing the Amaterasu is more late game focused. Not going to have the lane pressure compared to a Jormungandr. Can make those rotations faster, though, at level 12 with that speedy aura.
Really love that little wall placement that Renegades had. Unfortunately, it's just expired near the Gold Fury pit. It cuts off so many avenues of where the pathing from Obey could go through. If I see it again, I'll try and get Doug to point it out for us. It's just near the Gold Fury pit at the north side of it. Up there. Not that one, just to your right a little bit, there was one that's more important. Right there, just where the edge of that Gold Fury pit is. It gives you a vision of everyone going through the pathway to your left and right hand side. An important position and placement just to give so much extra cover. And that's what you're trying to do with your wards, is get as many avenues cut off as one.
Oh, catching the dash. Mineral drops like a fly.
Wow. First damage in the early game from an Ul, man. It don't matter what you are. If he gets a full combo time off on you, you're going to have a bad time. Not only that,
Yeah.
Rafa's combo at this level is very good. That updraft, it does a ton of damage.
And this is the difference between an experienced Hercules player versus one that's being aggressive with it.
Boswell ate an axe. He tried to hold the beads. Instead, he was forced to use them. But a fantastic 180 flicker.
And what I was going to say is, if that was Neilma or Aurora in that situation, and if they knew they were about to get flanked and CC'd, you drop the Excavate to get CC immunity, and then you Driving Strike afterwards. And now Mineral, because he used a Driving Strike and gets interrupted at the same time, he's just chain CC'd and he doesn't even get off the ultimate.
Still being a bit aggressive there, Mineral. Look at the Earthbreaker. Just doing checks more than anything. Sometimes when you throw out those Earthbreakers, I like to just see if my zone's in right now. You know what I mean? If
Sure.
I'm hitting that ability regularly. It's kind of like a Sylvanas pull.
And you were talking about how, like, you were giving credit to Mineral yesterday after the set victory, saying how Mineral is almost SPL ready.
And that wasn't meant as BM either. It was meant more in like he's stepping into the role, you know?
And where I was going with that is it takes more than just to be an aggressive support to get victories in the SPL. You also have to know how to get aggressed on and adapt to that situation.
But SPL is a different ball game than Rank 2 or even the minor league, which we all know. Into the sky goes Mineral though, contesting this blue buff. He's getting punished by the Windfire Wheels. The Driving Strike buys him a second, and his mitigate wounds at the tail end will be enough of a heal just to separate him. Ducky did ultimate here, but this was all for Renegades to try and defend their own blue buff. At the moment, the blue buff is still relatively safe.
And I like how Nika tried to be very cute with his ultimate. He actually, hold that thought though, Renegades trying to defend their own red buff now, weak, and not going to let that happen.
Takes a ton of damage, but there's no real hard CC that Obey have with that Guan Yu unless he uses the cavalry charge. But the invasion of the red buff is successful from Obey there. They saw a bit of pressure on the right-hand side. They created pressure on the right-hand side, but then went to the left-hand side and found a result.
Kind of like a pendulum swinging from right to left as Obey Alliance stripping away that red buff. An important one because it was their own red buff in game one that was consistently getting denied.
Yeah, the problem is now is that Renegades got upset about that. They go, well, you're going to take our red, we'll take your red, and your back hoppies on the right-hand side.
That pathing is absurd.
Crazy.
You can't get away with this one. If I'm Obey, I'm like, wait, how can we punish them? Let's try to go on Cherio.
Cherio's taking a lot of damage from that with that sash in middle. He was hoping his boys were going to come from behind, but they're getting into a bit of a fray of their own. Dot is very low. Guan Yu still has cavalry charge, and he's not going to be needed as Ducky just spits on him from a distance and brings him down for the second kill.
And that was the positioning there, wrapping between Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower. What did you think was going to happen? That Ducky wouldn't rotate, that Weekend wouldn't commit the ultimate? Of course Obey are going to punish you for being that aggressive.
And now Obey are in the lead. Funballer rotates towards mid to strip away the left-hand harpies, just trying to get a little bit more farm. This is good from Obey yet again. This is the same sort of thing we saw out of him against Dig yesterday. This team has got legs.
They definitely do. They have their very comfort picks, I would say, with Ducky on the Jormungandr again. The last set versus Dignitas was the first time in Phase 2 that he's played Jormungandr, but in those 5 games, 4 of them were actually Jorm.
Mineral baited into a bit of a fight with Cherio, and that comes at the cost of his life. I feel like he's just too deep in enemy territory there. When you look at the position on the map of what's available to be farmed right now, there's nothing up. There's no reason to be over there, being called there, especially without wards.
Yeah, and also no ultimate. Excavate was used earlier trying to kill out Cherio, but wasn't successful in doing so. Nika just slapping against Ducky. This is the point where Nika can actually start winning the exchanges once the aura gets maxed out a little bit more. Sustain gets higher and higher as you switch stances.
And this is definitely the zoom-in strat from Renegades here. A lot of mobility in this team. Maybe enough every character, actually, they all have mobility in their kit, even Funballer, funnily enough, on that Oleron.
Yeah, that's going to be an important note to make as well, as he's going to even slow the mobility out of Obey. 30% slow in that Sanctified field. That was a good look. In most of those team fights, every time Weekend went in with a Ratatasker, here comes the Sanctified field. There goes a knockup. If you don't have beads, you're basically hovering through that knockup for like a full second.
Mobility and sustain from pretty much everyone here. Pressure mid lane from Obey. 3 members group. Wingtoss though clears the wave a little bit. And now the attention may start to turn towards the Gold Fury. All buffs down for a moment or two. But at 10 minutes in is where you might start to see people look. If there's a window, people spot people on the right-hand side of the map, Gold Fury becomes ever so tempting.
Renegades last game were waiting for this timing of that third item being completed before they went for the Gold Fury. Obey could be in that same boat where they're waiting for the Doom Orb out of Moswell, a big power spike coming out of Mineral, finishing off the Gauntlet of Thieves before Raffer, whereas last game it was the turning of the tables where Raffer finishing it off first. Wowie feeling confident that He's going to finish off that Executioner. You need that attack speed and penetration to strip away the gold quickly.
Rafa going to path through mid a little bit aggressively there, put himself in an awkward spot, but he's in a Horus. So warrior stats, similar to that of Hercules, of course, but he will have that surge to be able to dash back to a teammate or an additional dash if he needs it to get away from danger.
Weaken hovering between middle and that left side of the map. Seeing if Renegades are going to get frisky enough. Not going to go for it quite yet. Drops a ward, walks away. Renegades not as confident as they were in the last game, but look at this level disparity of the two junglers.
Well, 2-level lead as it stands for Cherio to be an advantage of. Weaken should close that to 9 once he gets his own speed buff here. But this has definitely been a case of we saw Weaken hovering on that left-hand side for a gank.
I don't like it.
We still had Cherio farming.
I'm not a fan of that positioning there, because if you're not going to force the fight, now you're just not farming for so long, and Cheerios is going to be the full beneficiary with getting whatever is on his side of the map.
Wouldn't be better? Would you rather have the Guan Yu farming and the Naja being the one looking for gank setup? Is it better to be high levels as a warrior than an assassin?
Sometimes junglers just have to naturally let things unfold. If there's things that you have to farm, like speed buff, like back camps, like any sort of buffs, you have to get them. And then you see, based on your positioning, where's the action. If the action is close to where you're farming, you rotate. If not, you prioritize the farming, because the worst thing in a competitive SMITE game is your jungler falling behind.
Unless that's the design of the composition, though. That's why I look at it sometimes, right? Maybe with this one, if he's there to facilitate his carries to get to the late game,
I could see that.
That's okay.
Because Guan Yu, no matter what role you put him on, is a facilitator, is a utility style. He's just a heal bot in the late game. Still does a lot of damage, though.
And now Gold Fury being unleashed by Renegades. Funballer and Dardes doing most of the work. Cherio joins the fray. Weaken's been watching on and will beats the sash. And Cavalry strike in. The field is down and Mineral caught inside. It will just about escape. You saw the Horus ultimate channeled there back to a safety position. But the health bars of Obey are a little bit lower. Ducky and Nika about to join the fray. Mineral needs to recall Renegades in a dominant position for a moment.
Both teleports being used by the solo laners. It looks like Renegades definitely wanting this objective, and it felt like the power spike is because of Funballer's Bancroft's talent.
Ducky gonna sneak around the corner, drop the damage, and the Renegades get the Gold Fury, but Ducky's still surrounded in CC chain, not enough for a kill. Renegades are trying to get away. Cherio could be a casualty for the Gold Fury. And the chase is still on from Ducky towards the other members of Renegades.
That's fine. Lose your jungler, get the Gold Fury 13 minutes in. Renegades very happy with that one. Trying to build off of a lead now. Not the most healthiest of bunches is Obey Alliance, but I think we can change that aspect as they're grouped up for this tier 1 mid.
And now first time in the game, Renegades have been in the lead for now. Good knock-up from Rafa there onto the front line out of Obey, but Obey still committed, looking to bring down the tier 1. Warrior Moswell can't decide sometimes whether to go for the tower or the kills. Rafa's getting low, will surge back towards his teammates. Obey find a return of gold after losing that Gold Fury.
Funballer just wasn't there. It was a 3-on-5. Now, it was very fortunate for Renegades not to even lose one of those 3 members, but Obey trying to extend that advantage by getting the Pyromancer, but will lose their red buff in this process.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't actually see him go for a tier 1 there, Renegades, in response. They could have potentially taken a tier 1 in the mid lane with a few minions they had and 4 members grouped, but we saw Dardes and Funballer prioritize the farm over the position of the gold of the tower.
Even a tier 1 left lane wouldn't have been the worst exchange in the world for Funballer to get the minion farm, to get that tower. It's still an experience advantage for Funballer, not making that rotation and getting some farm.
I think tier 1 left was a bit trickier though, because like if you're going to run through the jungle and see a red and a purple up, you're going to want to take those on the way, right?
Sure, no, you're definitely right there. Red buff is too good to pass on by when you're stripping it away from either Wowie on the Xingwei or Moswell on the Merlin. But something that Renegades is going to have to keep note of is how effective Moswell was in game 1 on the Merlin once he did have more items completed.
Talking about items being completed, we're getting a little bit further along in these builds now. Thieves being stacked up for both the supports at this point. The Auras will come into play a little bit later. Full Doom Orb online for Moswell. And there's Cherio, who's just picked up a Blackthorn Hammer here, will have some nice anti-heal in this build to deal with some of this Guan Yu and Hercules, and he might need it now. Has to use the Windfire Wheels onto Mineral. Backup is on its way. The Sanctified Field down. Funballer credited with a kill. Warrior returns some good damage to Cherio there, but not enough for a kill just yet. And the sustain from Renegades is causing a problem.
Nika rotating underneath, catches out Weaken. Is he going to expend that dazzling offensive? Not enough damage!
Yes, it is! Ooh. The shield was enough. Charge the shield on the way.
Yeah.
And then he threads the needle and hits the horse too. Great individual play from Nika, catching Weaken there.
And a very important rotation. Ducky wasn't present.
On towards Moswell. Moswell was just trying to find the back camps. Now he'll be able to go back to base and look to buy some more items.
Yeah, this is Obey now crumbling under their own foundation that they've built on. Ducky needs to get Cherio here. No Windfire wheels available.
Ducky looking a lot better as this year goes on. In, out, in. The option may be cut out. Ducky, Rafa trying to get escape, so is Cherio. And look at the option of where they try and spread the map to get away. It's causing a bit of discombobulation from Obey, and they don't end up getting either kill because of it.
I'm surprised Ducky doesn't stick on the Naja that has no ultimate. Instead, going into the backline, helping Wowie DPS a little bit further onto a tanky target. I just don't understand it.
5-3 then as it stands. Renegades up 2k gold. And as we talk about the Renegades, they got a tier 1 in mid and left-hand side just recently as this fight has been going on. But it's them starting to scrap a little bit more now. Obey really bit back moments ago, and that seems to have annoyed the Renegades a little bit.
They definitely feel that way, as Funballer's still very happy to exchange basic attacks. Wowie life stealing off of the wave. Funballer's poke gets heavily mitigated. Now Obey want to rotate on the left side and punish this out-of-position Oleron.
1 minute till the next Fury spawns will be the Oni Fury. And the Oni Fury at this stage of the game is always important because it presents an option for the Fire Giant, which can always just add extra pressure to one side of the map, left or right. If Renegades get that, that Oni wave will end up pushing towards a tier 2, although Obey do at least have a Jing Wei, which is fantastic at that rotational defense.
Mineral desperately needs to hit level 12 before this Fury spawns. That second relic is available for Raffer. He picks up the sprint, going for a selfish style with the Mad Guy's cloak, whereas Mineral, a different kind of selfish style with the relic dagger. He wants to blink in a little bit more often. Some health, movement speed, not too bad. Cooldown reduction to follow up here.
What do you want to see Mineral go for with that second
Shield
relic?
of Regrowth.
Yeah?
You have to go Shield of
relic.
Regrowth on Hercules.
Relic.
Oh, relic, sorry.
I was like, wait, that's a relic now? Man, I'm getting
Can you
it every-
imagine?
Can you imagine that as a relic? Yes, please. Passive relics.
I wouldn't be mad if he went for Horrific Emblem upgrade. It would have to be upgraded though. Like if you're buying Horrific, it needs to be purchased alongside the upgrade. Frenzy probably would be my next go-to to amplify Moswall's damage.
Is beads an option with him in this game?
Just go Mad Guy's Cloak.
Yeah.
Don't bother with beads.
That's fair. Now though, Fury has spawned. Both teams recognize the importance of this one. Make sure they start to contest early. Pressure on Mineral and Ducky on the front line. They can chew up a bit of damage for now. But Nika got a bit of alone time with Wowie, and Wowie did not like that at all. He's forced out of the fray. The carries for Obey being pushed out on their own by Nika here. And that's forcing Obey's front line to have to fall back. They're using ultimates on the way. And this is just presenting the option for Renegades to now find this window at the Oni Fury.
Very quickly, at 10% health, Renegades do confirm it, and now going in.
And they go in to try and steal it away, and now the Sanctified Field comes out. That gets the kill onto Mineral. Ducky also in trouble now. We can try to deal with Cherio as Wowie and Moswell may be able to help him out as Cherio overextends. But all the while, the rest of Renegades focusing down Ducky. Nice kill from Moswell, though. He sears the flesh of Cherio to a medium rare.
Wowie, no ultimate and no life. Luckily, Moswell at least walks away with the skin of his teeth. Cherio nearly surviving there despite the Aegis as Moswell trying to set up a trap, but I think Renegades have the numbers here.
And speed buff now going to get stripped as well. We can probably do much about that. Renegades, 4 members strong, going to turn towards the Fire Giant.
Now, Obey are not really playing their team fights the way their composition should. With Guan Yu in the mix alongside Moswell on the Merlin, you want to be kind of in this death ball, so you're getting more effectiveness out of the heal from Guan Yu, but instead, they are so heavily separated, right? In the backline, Moswell and Wowie was getting zoned away by Nika the whole time.
And I think that's a credit to Nika more than anything else there. He did a lot of work in that fight to separate the backline from the front line and force the backline deeper into their own jungle, which forced Obey to, well, be in that situation.
And that's why Obey's next strategy of teamfighting should be trying to poke out the tanks, because the healing from Obey collectively is better than the individual healing from Renegades, right? Like Nika has self-sustain, Cherio has self-sustain. Rafford does have a little bit of healing alongside Funballer, but it's not as much as a Guan Yu with all the CDR.
The one problem Obey have with the composition of drafted is the fact the backline peel isn't really there. You're relying on a driving strike from Hercules, but you're frontlining.
Yeah.
You're relying on Weaken's cavalry charge or his dash, right? That's the level of CC that this backline, this frontline is bringing to help the backline. They're really lackluster in that department. And someone like an Amaterasu can really abuse that.
Yeah, and Nika at level 18 now is showing the power of this late game Amaterasu. Struggled early game. I think it was about a level disparity. Blue buff was stripped away once as well, but at this phase, you totally forgot about what happened in laning phase, because now you were just like that zoning bot, and even finding that kill onto Weekend earlier was really cute.
It was a good start from Obey, but now Renegades have turned it on yet again around the same sort of time. They seem to always do. Nice Earthbreaker from Mineral, catches Daughters, but the wall will prevent the option of him being pulled all the way into a dangerous zone. Renegades presenting themselves on the left-hand side to open up a window for the tier 2 in mid, where Cherio and Nika were looming. Nika going to take a quick trip back to base to try and clear out right-hand side. This tells me Renegades really just focused on clearing the map and getting the towers down here.
After that last game, Renegades realizing they need to be more disciplined. This is similar to how the last time that these two teams faced off, where Obey forced a 48-minute game number 1, and Renegades adapting to that situation, finding ways to clean out games number 2 and 3.
And teams like Obey now, where they take on these higher level teams that people respect and expect to qualify very soon, you want to be trying to learn things. So extending the game is a big learning curve of like, how do we stay in this and relevant? Or how do we just delay this team from finishing off and ending the game? It's an important factor. Sometimes I feel like there's a chance where you should just F6 a game and surrender, move on to the next one. But in these scenarios, it's definitely a better idea if you're Obey to try and keep the pressure going and learn from it.
The thing is, with their draft, though, they have to play the team fights more grouped up, and I just haven't seen that quite yet. Weekend struggling in the experience department, but as a Guan Yu, that's not that big of a detriment, because as long as you can get the heals off, you're effective. But the build doesn't complement that style. Normally you want 40% CDR with MP5, but by going for a Void Shield that's about to be completed and the shifters, you're lacking Breastplate of Valor, you're lacking Genji's Guard, and that's the core 3 items you want. The Blackthorns, the Breastplate, the Genjis. 40% CDR with all the MP5, yes please. And
the health that's in there from the Blackthorn Hammer does help out with a little bit of protection from the other two. I can see it. I always worry that if you go for protections, you sometimes miss out on the health. It's kind of a balance right there in itself.
Genji's gives you about 150 health a little bit,
so about
alongside the magical protection, but it's just all about the healing, and I just don't feel that Weekend is respecting the amount of healing that he needs to have for Obey. He would rather be doing the damage with the shifters and the Void Shield, which is just a different way of playing the Guan Yu.
Well, let's see what Obey do here. Hopefully we just see them go for a murder ball idea and just commit as a team. Because if they do that, it does present a bit of an issue for Renegades. However, the problem with the murder ball strategy against an Oleron, just because I said the word Oleron should be enough to let you know, that might not work as well as they would like it to.
And you would need to get a sprint to avoid that kind of Oleron sanctified field, but going for Frenzy out of Mineral makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of backline damage from Oswald and Wowie you want to amplify, but hard to really deal with when Renegades has quite a bit of self-sustain for themselves.
Renegades just use that whole Fire Giant timer that we saw to take down every single tower that Obey had for themselves, take away a Gold Fury, recall to base, Pyro's up next, then the Fire Giant ranked version 2, which is still the same version because it's still pre-30, and then head for the Phoenix line. Phoenix Legion, I'm kind of expecting to see Renegades maybe try and split them apart a little bit here because they don't want to deal with that murder ball either.
I could see that, and something that Renegades are known for is using that Horus ultimate to engage some of these Phoenixes. If you can time the To the Skies with even one archer, it eliminates backdoor protections. So you can do kind of a okie doke play. You're sieging, let's say hypothetically mid lane, and then you Horus ultimate down one of the side lanes, and then you just grab it quickly.
Now, what's going on right now, I do like from Obey. They know that Renegades are going to be over at that Fire Giant, so they're going to be like, hey, what are you going to do if we keep pushing down left-hand side? I just don't think they've got the speed to get the tier 2 threatened and low enough to threaten the Phoenix before this Fire Giant falls. I'm already Nico actually positioned mid, which is really good. He's already pushing that minion wave, and you can see the basing coming out already.
Now, I don't expect the Phoenix to be started on the left side. They need to defend the Phoenix because they can lose their Titan afterwards if they're ill-prepared.
This is going to force Obey to fight early, more early than they want to. I like the idea. Renegades just found the right answer. Nika going to pressure the minions in mid has forced the situation. Phoenix is already down, so the fight after this is more annoyance from Obey of the situation, but it's also not going well for them already. Mineral has fallen on the front side. Ducky has already used the World Serpent. He could potentially go for the kill on Cherry. I just don't see it happening.
No, definitely not.
And now once he lands, Rapper and Nikoro looming.
Beads as well being used to avoid a little bit of CC, but then the secondary stun coming out of Cherio plucks away Ducky.
I like how Obey's idea. Renegades just read it and knew how to answer it. Now they're in the throne room, looking potentially towards the Titan. It's only Weaken and Moswell alive. Ultimate down from Weaken. Ring toss is not something you want to deal with near a Titan. It's brutal. The Titan is being chipped away at. That's going to be game 2 for Renegades. Crazy end, but a good end.
About 4 minutes quicker than game number 1 as Moswell falls at the very end, as Obey just couldn't defend their Phoenix fast enough, but then forced a fight outside of it. And I understand why, because there was a lot of damage taken by Cherio. He was at about 33 to 50% health. Great blink double stun by Mineral, but then with the driving strike down, he couldn't get back into safety the same way that Weaken could have after the cavalry charges dashing away.
As we already said, though, that whole fight happened after the Phoenix had already fallen.
Yes.
Which made it already Obey like, damn, we lost the Phoenix. The call to go for the tier 2 makes sense to me. Try and put some pressure on, force Renegades to maybe fall back. Renegades went, you know what? Let's go for that Phoenix in mid lane straight after that. Nico presents himself in mid, pushes it in, and then it presents an issue. There's a chance you could look back at that if you're Obey and go, maybe Moswell could have gone towards the mid lane, showed presence there, would have slowed that advance down.
And I like how Obey started that early game. They had more pressure. They were able to get the first blood onto Funballer, and then they were up about, 1,000 gold at 4 minutes. They just could never take that lead to stretch it into the goal here. It was actually Renegades forcing it instead.
Once again, it just feels like a shift of gears that Renegades do towards that 15-minute mark where they just start to turn up the heat and teams start to struggle to hang with them. 2 games down. Can Obey do the almost impossible and reverse sweep here? We'll find out after the break.
INAP, powering the control room for the SMITE Pro League.
Welcome back into the SMITE Pro League. We're currently 2-0 up in favor right now of the Renegades. Before we break down what happened there in that game, I just want to remind you all to pick up that Pirate Battle Pass right now. You get that Artemis skin immediately upon unlocking it, then can start working towards Serket, Neath, and of course Chang'e at the very end. No reason you wouldn't want to be a part of that. We all love the pirate skins around here. I got Ryan Aggro Bailey right here next to me. And Ryan, as I was alluding to, right now, Renegades seem to have a pretty good control over this set.
Yes, it looks like they have complete control, and it's really still centered around that mid 3v3. Even with the Hercules added in, it wasn't enough to get Obey kind of over that hump in the mid lane. Dardes 5-1. Nico was all over the map. It felt like every time there was a team fight breaking out, Nico was there right away. That pulls Ducky out of the solo lane, and Jormungandr feel like needs a little bit more farm sometimes in order to get the ball rolling. Ducky still did a ton of damage and still played very well in this Jorm pick. but just Renegades as a unit. I mean, look at the player damage numbers. Obey has higher numbers in a couple different areas. It's just that Renegades was working so well together as a unit. Their target focus was really, really clean.
And I don't want this to slow down the hype around Obey too much, because for the most part, everyone has looked like this against Renegades. No one's beating this team just yet. But there have been some areas in here that feel a bit like regression from what we saw yesterday, right? In terms of the decision-making and which fights they're taking and knowing when they should retreat and cut their losses. That was some of the things they did well and improved against with Dig, but now it feels like they're back to some of those same old mistakes.
Renegades make you make mistakes.
That's true.
That's the thing about this team, man. They are so good at forcing you into bad spots. And they have so many different picks that really make it work. You said it right before we tossed that game to the casters that it's a bunch of priority picks for Renegades. It's the Horus for Raffer, it's the Najah for Cherio. All those just so difficult to really contest with. Funballer has looked really good on this Ola run so far this set. Been able to stay very safe despite taking that early first blood. I mean, this is a really impressive performance from the Renegades against an Obey team that is certainly better than I would have given them credit for prior to yesterday.
Right.
I think even today they're playing a little bit better than I would have given them credit for, but overall, it doesn't seem very close.
No, right? So far, Renegades have looked like they just have the number here for Obey, and hopefully Obey have something left in the tank to try and make some adjustments here, though. I do want to ask, doesn't it feel like just an Oloran-friendly meta for him to have been released into? If the 2v2 were over there in the long lane, I wonder if Oloran would be doing as well as you've seen him do here lately. Just a good time for him.
I agree, Finch. Maybe there's a conspiracy happening over there.
Huh.
I think that's
the route we're going, huh?
Yeah, I'm going with a design team conspiracy right now.
Yeah, they're up to something.
Break it wide open. ADC harassment.
Is that what's happening here right now? Perhaps it is. If y'all do want to be teased at something like that, and I believe there is an event that's going to be happening over the weekend, hinting towards a new release that's happening later. But to stick within the actual set that we are here with right now, one of the matchups where I feel like that Obey can make some improvements, I think, is here in the jungle. Cherio has been playing like a monster this set because that's how Cherio always plays, unless he's, for some reason on a bad internet connection. We always bring that up for some reason.
Yeah, that's our favorite.
I've done the sin here yet again. But Weekend, I think, has some room to step up a little bit in this matchup. I mean, someone's going to have to, and that's one area where you can try and mitigate one of Renegades' best players.
I really feel like the only one who's been playing up to the level of Renegades so far has been Ducky.
Agreed.
Who's looked very good so far this set. The rest of the team needs to be able to pull it along, and that's where it puts Ducky in a weird spot, because are we going to continue to prioritize his pick? Are we going to keep first picking for him so that he can look good, or do we need to trust that he'll look good on something else that we pick him and first pick something else? You first picked Yorm twice. It hasn't worked. Pick something else, I think, is the way I'd go.
I do think there's an argument to be made that that's why Ducky's the only one that has looked good, is because he's got his pick prioritized here so far. So you're exactly right. Perhaps you'll get a chance as Obey give first pick a try 3 times in a row now. That's one more thing that they've also not been able to quite make work for them yet. They've banned this Khepri every time. I think they're correct. Raffer really was, to me, the one that elevated this Khepri pick to this level where it feels like you must pick it nowadays. So do not let him play it again.
Makes sense to me. Obey probably going to continue with fairly similar bans. Persephone has been in that slot every single time. I think not having a Persephone, if you are first pick and you don't have a Persephone player ready, you are doing your team a disservice.
Agreed.
Is the way that I would phrase it. I mean, she's really, really good, and you can put so much pressure on second pick right now because there are 3 gods that everyone feels like are head and shoulders above the rest. And it's Set, Isis, and Persephone. Making yourself ban Persephone in that first ban phase hurts you so much. I think that it's very surprising to me that we've seen teams do it. Splice did it yesterday, when we're seeing Obey do it today.
And I definitely don't think there's a reason to do it second. If you're going to ban it as the first pick, shouldn't it be your third one so that Renegades feel like they might have to sooner? You've kind of given them that information way sooner than they had to. They've only done 1 ban at this point. So not only do I not think first pick should be banning it, I don't think you should be banning it with your second slot either. So perhaps, Obey will be able to talk just a little bit about what some of their reasoning is. But for the first time, Mineral gets to play Serket this set because Renegades banned the Oloran themselves, despite it having been Funballer playing it well and Obey not prioritizing it.
I think Renegades wanted the option to be able to go Thoth here, and Thoth has a weird matchup against Oloran at times, where if you dash or trying to charge Final Judgment, takes forever to go off or forever to fly through the area. So this opens the door for an easy Thoth pickup for Renegades, a priority pick for Funballer. They've been top 2ing his god all day. That makes a lot of sense to me. I wonder if Obey is going to be tempted to put Weekend on this god. I mean, don't forget, this is one of Weekend's premier picks as well. It's not just a good one for Mineral. So if Obey see a window where they might get a chance to pick something else for Mineral, I wonder if they'll take it.
And I like this because they're still able to get the Jormungandr for Ducky as well, so they don't have to give up his priority pick. It does maybe raise some questions about first picking at the last 2 games if Renegades weren't going to value it here when it was open, but you can't do anything about that now, so you just take the Jormungandr here in that slot along with this Merlin. These are the 3 priority picks for their roles, except maybe Thoth slightly from Oswald over Merlin, but aside from that, you can't say Obey are taking bad tools into this match.
No, I like their band so far and their picks as well, so we'll see if it ends up paying off. As Rom, the pick for Dardez in the mid lane. On her open, and this to me, if you're Renegades, this is the time to experiment a little bit. This is your clinching game, so it's obviously very important. But at the same time, you have dominated the first 2 games, and you want to give this ROM another test run. Dardez only played it once in a losing effort, so you know that there's a lot of potential there for this pick. That was against SK Gaming that he pulled that out. So I'm looking forward to seeing this again for Dardez and seeing if he can put that same amount of pressure, because now you can put it in teams' heads that, well, we can't just ban on her because he'll take ROM. You want to have those secondary and tertiary characters in your pocket that teams have to respect.
Thor and Ganesh get banned out, but talk to me a bit more about why Rom's being valued here, because I feel like right now what you want from a mid lane hunter is that they have these abilities that can come online right away and be nice control tools, but Rom is quite literally all basic attack focus. What's part of the reason they value it?
It's really just that Dardez is sick mechanically and can land the ult. Rom is going to be good for you if you can land your ult consistently, and of course your auto attacks, as you mentioned, no abilities, so you got to be landing those. Dardez mechanically gifted enough to do both of those factors, and you can still get you can't outbox the ROM in the early game as a mage. A big reason why we see these hunters in the mid lane is because the mages can't outbox them, and that's why when a hunter's there, that's when the support started coming over to help the mage against the hunter, and then the enemy support started coming over to match that rotation, and that's how we kind of got into this cyclical meta. But ROM still brings that early to mid game can't box me pressure with the ability to turn into this hyper carry later on.
Well, this is the composition that worked for them yesterday. The Thanatos for Weekend, the Merlin there for Moswell, Jormungandr for Ducky, and Serket for Mineral. They're even going to add a Chernobog here for Wowie. I feel as though he's moving from the Jingwei perhaps unnecessarily, but this does give them a ton of rotational power between the Chern, Thana, and the Jormungandr. You are not safe anywhere on the map if you're Renegades.
I think this makes sense, though, from Obey. Yes, Wowie has played very well on that Jingwei so far today, but they need help elsewhere on the map. And that's why I think we see the Yorm in part, because Ducky can help affect mid lane fights a little bit more quickly on the Jormungandr than some solo laners, and the same can be said for Chernobog. If the 3v3 has been struggling in mid, pick yourself some globals so that you can get in and do it. As Cherio looked like he was a little second-guessing this pick maybe the Renegades are considering right now. That is the Cherio, I don't know, man. I don't know if we should be doing this sort of move if I've ever seen one.
Well, in my mind, the open slot right now is support, which I'm now seeing is wrong. So the Amaterasu has to be there for Raffer then, right? Where is this soul going?
It's one of these carries has to be going to Nika, right? I mean, it's Naja jungle,
right?
Ama support, something weird for Nika. Maybe there's no way.
Maybe the ROM in the solo lane. Maybe he's the one that makes the most sense over there.
Yeah,
I would think, because he can kind of do the half rotations with his ultimate, and his push power is not bad when you have all the astral arrows. I mean, this is a bit odd. What are you thinking on this one?
Could also be something really weird in the jungle. Like Cherio, as I said earlier, loves these weird selections. I see him play a ton of things like on her jungle on stream. Maybe he takes something here into the jungle that's Thoth, Rama, or Soul. Of those, I guess Thoth is the best, but I don't love that either.
Sure.
Maybe
this
Thoth,
is the natural progression, though, right? If you put Thoth and Rom in the side lanes, you're maximizing the solo lane farm for these carries. That's all they wanted. Maybe that's the idea. Hindu and Toli, you guys make some sense of this.
Yeah, no problem. This ain't so hard. I mean, game 2, Renegades are up 2-0. Need one more point. Why wouldn't you put Thoth in the long lane, the short lane against
Oh,
Ducky.
you stalled, Hindu.
No,
You
I
didn't
didn't.
guess. Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
That's classic Hindu.
I had
You
to
don't get credit.
introduce.
No.
What are you talking about? That was easy. Anyone, like, chat knows. Chat knows. That's all I'm saying. They knew, Tolly. You knew.
I'm in a dysfunctional family
Tolly,
right here.
You were saying it back here as well, weren't you? I heard you say it.
I thought it was going to be Thoth Jungle, honestly.
Oh, man, sell out with me. Come on. You're supposed to be like, yeah, I did say that.
But at the end of the day, though, I kind of respect this. If you can run Thoth in the long lane, why not run Thoth in the short lane? It's actually much easier to get under the safety of your own tower on the right side of the map as opposed to the left.
I definitely see it as a situation of Jormungandr, big, huge, easy to hit target. Toth, big, huge, easy to confirm damage. Mineral, big, huge, easy to hit health bar. That's dwindling quickly there on that rotation to try and invade speed. Good blockage from Rafa and Dardes, who now get to potentially assault again. But Weaken's wasted the start of the game here, and I say wasted because he's looking to try and pressure the blue buff away from Toth, as Mineral's overextended again in the mid lane, and he's going to end up falling down there. Not much he can do with just the help of that Merlin.
What's going on here, though? Cherio might be in a little bit of trouble if Weaken has the depth side available. This reminds me of the week in start of Season 2 days. Does he have the depth side? 2 more seconds. If he lands it, Cherio might be in trouble, but instead goes on to Nika.
I don't know.
This is awkward. This is very, very awkward from Obey. They're wasting so much time farming. Like, yes, Cherio's not getting that farm, but the difference from Dardas now getting that first blood is so huge.
Okay, buff is finally down. Obey do get it. So Cherio and Weaken are semi-even on experience now. Now Mineral rotating in, but he eats the ring toss, and the jungler's still going to dance. Does Weaken think he's running one of these games on stream again where he gets his viewers? Is that what I think's going on here?
Let's not go that far.
It's a weird start, man.
It is a weird start, but
saying.
sometimes against a team that Renegades caliber, you need to do weird starts.
I agree.
But
I'm only poking fun.
It looks worse than it actually is. I think they were anticipating more of a harassment from Mineral, but he just couldn't get in because how often are you practicing a strat where you're getting shot through the wall by a level 1 Rom?
Dardas now level 3, and Mineral just wrapped back into that fight to try and cause a bit of a distraction. He did cause one, but it cost him his life in doing so. The speed buff still hasn't been touched by either team, by the way. It will be by Weaken now. So you can see the level discrepancy starting to develop.
Cherio waiting for that last possible moment that he could ring bounce Ducky and the blue buff.
Respecting him a little.
Oh,
he did it again.
I thought he was going to reset it.
Ducky's so good at those.
Well, Cherio was playing it as if he was going to reset it, pulling it all the way to the edge there, but instead holds on to the aggro, thinking he could have squeezed a basic attack. Doesn't ring bounce either for extra DPS, surprisingly.
Really surprised by that too. He's a funny little tale of events there. I will say one thing though, don't try and take Ducky's blue when he's Jormungandr.
Yeah, it's just not working out. I think he's like 3 for 3 every time he's fired that spitball. 2 in the last game, 1 over here as well.
Oh, Obey grouped up as 2, pushing into the jungle. Blink from Mineral towards Dardas. Dardas not really panicking there, didn't use his beads at all. Instead, he's looking for an option away. The scythe though from Weaken did connect, and that will get his beads. Rafa there to body block more than anything else where possible, and also give a bit of mobility and sustain.
Weaken is still level 1, by the way. Can we talk about how he's the lowest experience per minute? He needs any farm he can get. Just now crossing over to level 2. Now all of a sudden Funballer's lane is very congested.
Now Mineral trying to secure this buff is just overextended again. Weaken blinks in though, gets a good scythe and damage off onto Dardas, but Dardas rolled away in time, will be forced to recall back to base here. Moswell, meanwhile, is being given most of the farm in the game. He's now level 5. He managed to get that red buff on the left-hand side, and also the red buff in the jungle too. This is going to be a big game for Moswell as it stands already with having the level lead.
No team is perfect. I agree. But where you're suffering in one with Weaken being this far behind, you're gaining strengths in another. Yeah. And that's where you made the point of Moswell needing these levels. Shutting down Dardas on the ROM, I don't think is going to be the reason why Obey win. They're going to need to do more than just shut down Dardas on the ROM, because all he needs to do is play cleanup with his Astral Barrage ultimate.
If you notice, though, all 3 of the carries of Obey are already level 5. And we're talking about the carries, the side lanes and the middle lane. So it's the jungler and the support that are behind. However, the 2 people that are in the jungle and support is a Surcat and a Thanatos. Now, if Obey can just deal the damage and Weaken can just hit 5, he's still going to be able to execute people. Sure. And that will be a catch-up potential in terms of levels if they're ahead of him.
There's definitely a lot of cleanup potential from Obey. It's not just Weaken or Ducky. It's also Wowie on that Living Nightmare, as Ducky getting poked out a little bit by Cherio. Weaken Looking for the blink. Actually, it's on cooldown for 40 seconds.
They might go in for a bit of a play here. Might be looking towards the blue buff too, but that's not available. Nika already has that for himself. And Nika now at level 5 on this Toth as well. The longer this game goes on, the more dangerous it could be for the squishier targets of Obey with so much damage on the map. Mineral trying to keep Dardas in check and trying to make sure those beads are still down, which they are for another 30 seconds. Weaken going to come in. Rollout is down from Dardas. He needs some help. An immediate peel option from Rafa that actually could turn into a kill. Rafa will get credit for it, and Dardas just hit 5 in time. Moswell flickered in there for the kill, and now he's being punished.
He is flicker in as well, but now Cherio is here, stunning and ring bounce, just not enough.
Swoop.
Living Nightmare out of Wowie.
Will get 1 kill, and Dardas will survive. Did cost Rafa his life. Nika making a rotation over. Good little poke over the wall. That was a pick onto Moswell, that from Renegades, that Obey managed to turn around. And Mineral just about survived.
Yeah, just taking out Weaken. Moswell narrowly escapes by the skin of his teeth. The third strike coming through from Dardas, not accurate there. Very important use of Horrific Emblem, forcing out the beats actually out of Moswell. We don't really see that relic being picked up too often, but there are definitely some important edge case uses.
And that's definitely the danger zone with having an Amaterasu for me. There's no... The hard CC from an Amaterasu is either the dash silence or the ultimate. But the ultimate is only the 3rd hit that is a hard CC in terms of a stun. So the way Rafa played that was really good, honestly, to keep Dardas alive.
Yeah, against level 4 Thanatos that went for a blink.
Yeah.
No hovering death, no use of the beats. So I'm sure that was the reasoning why, as Rafa all over the map, it feels, on this Amaterasu.
Problem for Ducky, like I said, though, is tough. Can just keep poking you from range and dealing some good damage. Got to be careful here as he takes another barrage out from this Toth.
I like this matchup on the solo lane. Moswell in a little bit of trouble.
Can he flicker away is the question. Not sure if he even had it as he just switched stance there for damage. A pick onto Moswell is an important one for Renegades at this stage.
Needs to find some sort of cleanup, honestly. Will absorb the wave, but can't even get the gold necessarily. Weaken having to get that under the tower. Dardas still with his ultimate if he can get Weaken low enough.
Crazy how the meta keeps changing around so much. I'm seeing so much more leaving the mid laners alone again, is what I'm noticing. They just get into free farm once more. There was so much through the whole of phase 1 into phase 2 of get the solo lane, so get the duo lane left alone. Now it's back towards mid a little bit more, at least from what I've seen so far this week.
And this is going to be another game where Weaken doesn't go for a blessing. It's not the reason he's behind at all, by the way, because Thanatos doesn't need the sustain coming through from Assassin's Blessing, whereas Guan Yu in the last game certainly did.
Sash from Cherio hits Mineral. Mineral going to just dash away back towards the safety of his team. Mineral foregoing the Blessing yet again for the time being. Actually, it looks like he's going to be more than the time being as he invested towards that Thieves already, which is 600 gold. So we can get the red buff here. Renegades still looking for fights if they can. Cherio going to lead them in. Looking for an option if you can find it. Gold Fury could be looming, however, with everybody on Obey just being shown there.
They're also very low in the health category, so that could be a trigger sign for Renegades, but instead playing it safe. The red buff and purple on the left side still available. Wanting to make sure they don't give up too much to Obey, because against Chernobog, that controls a lot of space with the root against Mineral. Oh.
Buff secure.
All right,
Buff
all right, I get it. That's just every time I hear Final Judgment, I'm like, hold up.
Who's that?
Yeah.
I don't.
Especially in game.
Yeah, in game, you're just like, I'm probably dead, right? If you hear the boom, you hit Aegis straight away. And if you're not going to Aegis, you're probably losing half a health bar. Into the jungle goes Mineral, walks straight into Cherio, who hits a Sash and the ultimate, and removes him on his own. Didn't need Dardas there, but Dardas will get credit for the kill, and his stat line will look better than Cherio's once more.
Yeah, 3-0-3 on the ROM. By the way, shoutouts to Snoopy playing the ROM first, right? Like, who did it first? It was Snoop.
You know what? Those arguments are always funny to me, because there's always people like, man, I did it in scrims weeks ago, and I'm like, well, do it in the league, right? Like, nobody gets to see scrims other than like 12 players.
Yeah, that's why in Valencia, when Deathwalker locked in that area, I'm like, I did it first.
You were so excited about that.
Well, I was actually more excited, not because of that aspect,
Yeah.
but just to see how it would work. Because knowing Rival back then, there was a very specific reason. Because back when I did it, it was because it was Hog.
Because of what, sorry?
Because the Hog meta, Ares couldn't clear the wave, and you needed to hog the wave to clear the wave, whereas the way Rival played the Ares solo was with the Athena support, taunt into the chains at level 1. You just kill them.
Well, you did see Nika use his beads there as Mineral made a rotation to this right-hand side. Level discrepancy between supports is growing even more so. Level 5 for Mineral, level 8 for Rafa in this one. I do like the fact they're trying to pressure this Toth in this solo lane a little bit more, and it's one of the reasons why I think we've got Nika on this with beads and not the teleport.
That's something that Obey's done consistently this set, is apply pressure onto Nika, and that's very foreign to Ducky because normally he never gets assistance in that solo lane. So I like this switch up a little bit, but there are no kills, unfortunately, quite yet. So Nika's getting to that power spike where he's getting harder to kill now with 30% CDR, extra health now from this Pythagoras piece. He's just going to be dashing under his tower every given moment if in trouble.
It's funny because in game 2, we're talking about how Obey had a murder ball composition. Renegades have that this game. If they just all run at a target, that's a ton of damage because everyone's going to be swinging. Cherio looks towards the red, gets kissed by Mineral, ulted 2, and weakens in the sky. Cherio's going to buy himself a literal second. Up and down, he dies. Mineral slips the noose. Good pick from Obey.
Mineral even walking out of that one. Not in range, unfortunately, was Dardes to even use the Astral Barrage. I like the synergy that Obey had, recognizing that this Naja a little too far forward. No respect given by Cherio, holding on to the beats during the Cobra's kiss.
But the one thing about the Windfire Wheels as well is most of the time it'll buy you enough time for a reinforcement to be close enough to help out. In that scenario, he was looking for a 1v1 trade at the very minimum. Problem was that was also against a level 5-6 Circuit support, which wasn't really worth much.
Definitely agree with you. Even if Mineral dies, Obey would want that trade to happen. But Renegades lose a member. Still ahead a little bit in this game. Could still look for the Goal Fury, I think, once Funballer finishes off the Demonic Grip.
Mineral still working towards the Thebes. Then Blackthorn Hammer online for Rafa, however, to go along with the Talaria boost that he's already picked up. So Rafa's really looking to stay in the fray as long as possible. As an Amaterasu with that stance switch in terms of movement speed to healing, that you want to have enough mana to be able to just stay there as long as possible.
MP5 is nice as well from Talaria boots. Wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Genji's guard coming from Rafa. He's one of these supports that plays selfless, but his builds kind of scream the opposite occasionally.
Shogun's be a good option here for him too?
Sure, a 10% CDR,
just with the composition,
the attack speed from Dardas and Funballer, some great hyper carries will benefit from that attack speed.
Red buff spawning, Renegades here with a bit more force now. Cherio finds Mineral again, Mineral ults Cherio. Backside, where we getting aggressed on by Rafa for a second, but Weaken's already in the sky. Mineral out of the fray and low on health as Weaken dunks in and annihilates Cherio. But Dardas punishes Mineral with the ultimate in response, 1-for-1, jungle for support yet again. It's the same two players falling.
Yeah, that's the trade that we were talking about earlier. Weaken actually blinks in, but has the safety of his teammates. Wowie, though, goes in aggressively.
Tries to get towards Dardas. Dardas beats down. Now Ducky from the backside of the World Serpent comes into play, but Dardas' rollout is available again. Rafa at the tail end, though, eats a ton of damage from the Arcane out from Moswell. He was there to help peel for Dardas. He keeps his carry alive at the cost of his own life, but Nika, after Ducky makes it into the fray, Nika's doing the same thing. Final Judgment! Oh, he didn't do it!
Lining it up, still holding on to it for the moment, waiting to clip away. Weaken very low, but he heals with the Death Scythe and the kill.
And now Nika out of mana, out of life. Obey just dance around all the damage that Renegades had and turn it around and develop into a Gold Fury. The Gold Fury's getting low. Cherio into the pit. Only really a ring toss could really prevent this. Dardas on the way, though. Can they do something?
Oh, needs one more hit. Obey Lines do confirm it, and even the kill onto Cherio. Dardas didn't have the Astral Barrage for the damage necessary to steal.
So is this Renegades having fun with the compositions a little bit, totally? They recognize, like, I don't think these are bad picks. I think these are viable.
It's fine. It's not the best.
Yeah.
It's not like their most try-hard picks for sure, but it's definitely doable. And I don't think they lost that fight because of the picks. I think the way they played that fight was less than optimal. I think that Funballer used that ultimate defensively, expecting Weaken to land onto Cherio early on. If that solo ultimate was readily available during the purple buff disengage, I don't think Renegades lose too many members there.
And I do think that's what Renegades' playstyle is, though, is they work as a unit in terms of peeling for each other all the time. I think that can sometimes come back to bite you, though. If the enemy team can telegraph you're going to try and peel for your teammate, they can switch focus and cause an issue.
They definitely can, but it's getting closer and closer to the late game. If Obey don't build off of the lead that they have just gotten, they're going to have to deal with a late game Rom, late game Soul, late game Thought and Amaterasu. Cherio is going to be playing setup. As long as he's tanky with health and defenses, that's all they need out of him.
Do you remember how far behind Weaken was before? He's ahead of Cherio in the jungle now. That's how much this has switched up as the game's gone on. I kind of like this playstyle from Obey in terms of get their laners ahead at the cost of the support and jungle and hope the laners can help out in getting the support and jungle back into the forefront again.
That rebound's doing a little bit of damage, still wanting to go on the Pyromancer.
Oh, and on Rafa, and Rafa will escape with his ultimate after eating the ult out of Mineral. Mineral goes down, but Rafa in trade. And that's the only real front line to speak of that Renegades have brought to the fray here. Ducky dives the back line. Got to be careful of Cherio here. Hits the sash, and that sets up the snipes out from Dardes that only hits one of the three. Dardes now turning attention towards Weaken, who's nice and healthy in that jungle area. Cherio slips to the left-hand side, but no. Moswell gets a bit of a chance to take on this top.
Will evade and punish that one, but the Pyromancer's still going to get contested on the right side. Renegades not winning that one because Funballer was not present. He was farming the left side of the map, getting his buffs, and what is all this now?
Straight on the Fire Giant. Why not look at where the position is on the map? Mineral, I think, just saw Cherio in the jungle. They see Fumble on the left-hand side. It's all on Dardes. Dardes, no ultimate. If he can do anything about this, if you're looking for it now with a steal, no, Obey, secure the FG. And now they are in control of this game for a moment or two.
That is very surprising to see. Of all teams, Obey Alliance to go for that. But this is the kind of plays sometimes that you need to make to get these small advantages over such a prestigious team like Renegades. But experience-wise, they need to utilize Moswell's level lead to start pushing these towers.
From what I see out of Moswell most of the time, I feel like he just reads the engagements well from distance. He's not involved in the fray, but he's watching and he's lurking. He's like, okay, I just saw the Dardes roll out. I just saw Nika's use his ultimate and his beads. So now I'll go in. You know, I'll flicker in and try and burst them down. And it's working. It's actually helping out this Obey team.
He has a lot of experience playing the Thoth, so playing against the Thoth, he can still make those plays when necessary. With Obey Alliance having this Fire Giant for 3 minutes, though, I'm curious which direction there's going to go, because all 6 towers out of Renegades still up and running.
Completely agree. Maybe left-hand side with the Fury spawning a minute and a half could be an option. And Fire Giant being down means there's no worry there. But look at where Renegades is.
Wow.
Piling down the mid lane. 3 strong. They're looking for a trap. Weaken is going to be set into it, but he avoids the silence. The burst damage is just too much. Mineral does kiss Dardes. Into the sky comes the Chernobog. But now Wowie eats a bit of poke as he lands. Ducky around the back tries to collapse onto Funballer and Dardes. But now Toth is here too. And Ducky's ultimate is still available. Renegades pressure mid, they get a pick. They don't get a tower.
This is Renegades fighting into a Fire Giant team, mind you. They know their damage capability. Weaken was like 0.001 second away from going to the sky with that hovering death, but I think that even if he does land, he wouldn't land back down, obviously, with that low health. So Renegades would still have an advantage forcing that ultimate. And just by positioning that aggressively, Obey don't have the window to get more than just a tier 1 tower on the left side.
And that's the thing that I love about it is, like you said, they're a Fire Giant team, but they're not backing down. They're trying to keep them on the Obey on the back foot themselves, so they don't make use of the window. They could have got them a bigger lead.
Take the fight at the enemy's doorstep, so they're not at your own doorstep. It makes sense, but if it fails, you're in like even a worse pain.
Really are. Now the Gold Fury attempt here from Obey as it spawns, apologies, not Gold Fury, be a Primal Fury. They've got to be careful of Dardes and these snipes, and also Sol. A lot of potential steal away options from Renegades with this composition they've got drafted here. Don't forget, there's also a Toth from the solo lane now making his way over too. Primal Fury started for a second. Rafa on the front line, early ult onto Weaken. That'll get Weaken's ult, but he also lost his health bar already. Weaken may still come back down and will do so. Get a good heal off Funballer, but Disaperate comes into play. Mineral sashed by Cherio, and the Windfire wheels away is what you saw Cherio do, but he went right into Ducky, who was waiting. Wowie cleans up that, and the final judgment was anything but final. Nika with the Invader Punish won't land either.
The Rude misses, unfortunately, as already getting away is Mineral and Wowie. I like the play from Obey Alliance's Weaken going back in, knowing that, yes, it's not an execute threshold, but it is a stun, and I get the Death Scythe off to still be healthy in this team fight. Unfortunately for Renegades, that was great setup onto Weaken, but this time he gets the hovering death off because Funballer's ultimate a little bit too hesitant compared to the last one.
Primal Fury started by Weaken and Moswell. Rafa arriving, as is Nika. Ultimate's on cooldown, barring Dardes, who just took a ton of poke in mid. Mineral, though, blinking to the back, goes aggressive towards Nika, who will dash back to safety. And Wowie, who was swooping on him with the Living Nightmare there, tried to turn it around too. But Nika perfectly safe. Primal Fury leashed again. There's a ward in that pit, so Renegades know exactly what's going on here.
They still want to try to contest. At least Rapper and Cherio are kind of flirting with the idea. Good zoning from Mineral as Obey confirmed their second Fury of this game.
You know, Tony, the only problem I've got with this composition from Renegades is it's doing too much. I think that's where it is. They're experimenting that. They're mixing things up.
They are.
But I think it's just too much at the same time.
But they're not at their final form, Hindu. This is a late game draft, similar to how Obey's, I think, game 1 draft was. So I expect them to still sit in the oven for a little bit longer. Let these 5th, 6th items get completed. Like, Renegades are barely behind considering how Obey were the ones with the Fire Engine. So
true.
Just give it some time. I'm expecting the Soul and the Rom to do absurd amount of damage, not to mention even the Thoth.
But the one thing with that composition then, Tolly, is if you lose the early and mid game too heavily, you're going to put yourself at a deficit anyway. It's a very risky comp.
Oh, I agree. It is very risky, but Renegades are a team that can take those risks with the 2-0 lead that they have, with the standings lead that they have, and they know how to draw games out long enough.
7 coups, 2 Furies, 1 Fire Giant, and 2 Pyromancers, all in the coffers of Obey in this game. And yet the gold lead is only 2,000. With the towers being down, that's the situation, is the reason where the gold differential is not as heavy as you'd expect. Ducky going to lurk in, try and put down that poison a little bit more so. Mineral gets hold of Rafa, trying to force the ult out of Rafa and does so. Left-hand side, Cherio versus Weaken. Weaken in the sky, looking to loom down on someone. He's waiting for the option. Rafa is under pressure, but he won't be as Weaken to disengage. And then Ducky, after landing, hits the sash. His team stepped too far back, and Renegades exploit the mistake from Obey.
And there goes Renegades. Maswell actually takes out Cherry because of all the AoE damage and falling back in return. Funballer getting credited without Final Judgment just off the mark, but forces the Aegis.
The Aegis I don't think would have helped either. I think it would have hit still. Funballer still diving in deep with the Disapparate. Will tag up a couple of shots. Now the minions into play means backdoor protection is removed. Tier 2 tower falls. And that was Renegades waiting for Obey to make a mistake, and Obey made a mistake and get punished by potentially losing a Phoenix.
They went on to Raffer, and of course, that's what they want is Renegades. They want to put Raffer in that situation because Dardas and Funballer and Nika are all free casting. Weaken in the sky earlier was anticipating Ducky connecting with those World Serpent hits to get Raffer low enough for the execute threshold.
I think the problem was, though, the rest of the backline of Obey who were on the tower line fell too far back.
Yes.
So when Ducky remerges from his ultimate, he's right at the tower line and he's the only one nearby, which makes it an easy day for Renegades to just burst him down.
Yeah, it becomes trickier and scarier for Obey to enter that tower line to save Ducky, right? They needed the DPS from Wowie to get the tower. It felt like everyone was running away from Renegades anyway. That space was provided. Obey did not capitalize.
I'm a little bit concerned that we don't see enough Magi's cloaks out from Obey too. When you look at the composition that Renegades have, there's not many hard CCs, we mentioned it earlier, and one of the major CCs that we get is the sash from Cherio. If you can negate that with a Magi's cloak, it presents you the option to turn it around in Cherio's face.
Well, there's a way you can still pop it safely. Nika can use Evade and Punish and use that range of the wall.
Cherio did a bit of dancing there, and Mineral dashing in means that Rafa gets a window to get towards Weaken, who was trying to follow up with his support. On the ult back down, Rafa did not get hit because a Magi's cloak came into play there for him. But the poke from Moswell is doing damage, and Ducky will get the kill, but he goes down in trade thanks to the help out of Nika. Don is in the sky. The collapse on Weaken is good. Funball is there too, as is the laugh spams from the Renegades.
You gotta love that confidence from Funballer and all of Renegades. Yes, Raffer does go down, but at what cost? You just lost your soul laner and your jungler. Ducky was chain CC'd long enough that he couldn't even get the World Serpent off, and it's this time Renegades securing the fire.
This is just confidence from Renegades, because in the world of SMITE, the only way you actually lose games is because the enemy team make mistakes.
Sure.
That's all it is, and it's how punished. It's how punished those mistakes are made. And that's what Renegades have done to Obey here, is they've allowed Obey to make some mistakes. And instead of just like letting them get away with it, they've really heavily punished. The last time it happened, it was a Phoenix. Yeah. Now it's an FG and a tier 2 so far.
Hard to play perfectly in the SPL. Doesn't matter where you are in the standings against any team. Obey can punish you. Renegades can easily punish you as well. This is looking like that Renegades, with this win, if they can secure it, are going to qualify to the Hi-Res Expo.
That's correct, and that'll be 5 teams locked in after this if Renegades do win here. Still a bit of a debate, though, over where that 6th spot will go to. In contention is Splice and SK Gaming. Splice definitely a little bit more comfortable with the road in. SK, though, still potentially have the shot.
It's going to be tricky, though, because SK can only get up to 9 wins. So as long as Splice can cross into that 9-win threshold, having the head-to-head record would put them into high-risk extra.
Mineral catches Cherio in the jungle. Cherio trying to defend against 4 or 5 targets here. The rest of Renegades are over at the Oni Fury. This is all pressure onto Cherio, who brought the whole team to him. Renegades, meanwhile, not even sending all the team to Oni Fury. The rest of them were either clearing out jungle camps and pushing the wave. Looks like Obey have another chance to decide for a tier 2 race. This time, they won't get caught with their pants down so much and get back to defend this left-hand Phoenix.
Well, 3 ultimates were used for that 1 kill, so even if Renegades went in on that Phoenix, I don't see a world where Obey can actually defend it, but Weekend stays behind, gets off a lot of damage off. I like the fact that he doesn't commit because he would not be able to get out without the hovering death.
That's good knowledge. Good game knowledge more than anything else of realizing that they're on the way, and the mobility from Amaterasu with a sprint. No ultimate, no blink. He needs to leave when he did. But Renegades get back in time to defend that tier 2. It did give Obey a chance to push out the left-hand side at least. Middle Phoenix is about to respawn. Fire Giant still on them for about another minute and a half.
Yeah, Raffer should be fine with all that mobility. Pyromancer even being secured while they're waiting for the next sieging idea here. It should be in the mid lane. It is a very weakened respawn Phoenix. Ducky needs to be the zoning control. Honestly, Renegades can just sneeze on this objective.
And now left-hand side, you'll see Cherry just pushing out the wave 2. The rest of Renegades grouped up as 4 in the mid lane. Potentially expect to see Cherry just push this wave in down left first of all, before looking for a fight in the middle area. They really do need Cherio to be in this with the CC that he brings.
Renegades should wait, honestly, for Cherio before, but they're looking for poke from a safe distance. Funballer throwing out the Stellar Burst. We're seeing the Hieroglyphic Assault out of Nika, and even meanwhile, Dardas can maybe force a counter rotation on the right side of the map.
He's trying to do just that, but as Moswell and Ducky turn up, so does Funballer and Ratha. Keep your eyes on Mineral. He's been the one engaging, looking for Ratha every time to try and burst him quickly, but Ratha got to commit the ultimate here on the right to separate the difference. 2 fights at the same time. Both Phoenix is fine. Windfire Wheels used on Mineral, who with a good ultimate will survive. And now with where we're swooping in towards Cherio, is Cherio under pressure, but a sash gives him some peel, and Weekend can't find the ult, but he will find the silence, and that'll be enough for a kill. Dardes, though, will punish heavily with that ultimate.
Oh, wow, in a little bit of trouble as well. The dash out of Nika, evading and punishing at the same time.
And Ducky up and down with the World Serpent. He's going to try and dissuade them from coming in, but 2 members are already dead of Obey. Both Phoenixes are still alive. Not for long. The middle one was already weakened. Dardas will secure it and then roll in towards Moswell, but Moswell slammed him and also forced him to use the Aegis. The only way to get out was to fight, and Ducky denied that option. Both Phoenixes fall. 2 members of Renegades do, but the damage has definitely been done.
Dardas was laughing as he falls down. Not much he could have done, hoping that the Aussie sustain would have been enough to survive that one throughout the Aegis, but Renegades, with their Fire Giant buff during those sieges, got what they came for. Middle, respawn, Phoenix, and the right side as well.
And now Renegades just have to, well, walk around, clean up some maps, wait for the respawns. Maybe they're going to try and deny a bit of a farm, and I appreciate this, trying to just cause problems for Nika, who's low on mana here. Needs to be a little bit careful. Does end up losing the red anyway.
Not the biggest deal in the world, honestly. It sucks for Renegades, but you know what? Obey is like, they can walk away with a moral victory out of that one.
So how do we feel about Obey's performance today? We looked at yesterday, they beat Dig 3-2, would you believe?
Sure.
Coming into this set, we knew it was a different mountain to climb in Renegades. How have they performed?
Obviously not as good as yesterday. I think this is a different team than Dignitas is Renegades. Renegades are just, despite this weird draft, they are more consistent than Dignitas with how they play from beginning to end of SMITE games. So I think if I were to grade Obey here, probably a D, honestly. I'm not in love with Mineral's positioning in some moments of this set. Weekend, his jungle experience per minute was heavily staggered because Renegades were able to adapt to his shenanigans. I think Ducky had a good performance, Moswell had a good performance, and Wowie had a good performance, but the other 2 frontliners couldn't really make it happen for the other 3.
We did discuss, though, what the game plan seemed to be from them, though, is to get those lanes ahead in the first place. You know, I know most of the attention will be on Weekend and Mineral for sure, because they died a lot in the early game and under-leveled, but that seems to be like the crafted idea that Obey were going for.
Yeah, they're their O-line, right, for the quarterback to make those plays happen, and unfortunately they crumbled to the pressure that Renegades brought.
So you don't blame the quarterback then? If the O-line does their job, is it not the quarterback's fault?
I mean, if you get sacked as a quarterback, like, you're expected to hold on to the ball for a certain amount of seconds. You can't hold on to it forever, though.
That's true. Well, the ball is all in Renegades' court right now as they have the Fire Giant once again. Not the enhanced version. That's at 30 minutes. Rafa going to lead the troops in, expecting to see people in this corner. And Moswell shows his face with that Blizzard, and that'll be enough to prevent some damage. But the minions on the right side means they've got to fight soon. Mineral going to blink in and ult onto Dardes, but the damage back to him really hurt. And Rafa's almost there for cleanup. Mineral's still alive, though. Will survive for the time being. Ducky causing problems in the back line with the ultimate out of Jormungandr. Problem being, though, is now that it's down, it's a chance for Renegades to push on in for the third Phoenix.
And Mineral used his frenzy, thinking he was about to die. Dardas in the sky, needs to hit the shot, gets one.
And Cherio will still survive. We can up, down, looking for a dunk onto Cherio. He's trying to resustain and does so in time. Dardas credited with a kill onto a double. Moves into the throne room now. Ducky lurking, just trying to buy time and then try and slow down the advance out of Renegades. The rest of his team are dealing with minions in the base.
A great use of the Aegis coming from Cherio, surviving that hovering death, and now Renegades are poised to win this game 3 to try to qualify to high-res Expo if they could just find one more pick.
I think they just want minions more than anything else to come on in. They've definitely got the damage to get the Titan down. Now, though, Mineral front line in, and Ducky will fall. It's all about kills too, remember? And they'll pick up 2 more of those at the tail end of the set. Renegades officially qualify to High-Res Expo, the world champions. Rafa's 3rd attempt at claiming one for himself. And the rest of that team, well, it'll be a first look at trying to get one around their waist.
Thov, solo lane, check. Working out for Renegades. Obey Alliance couldn't adapt to the situation. Trying to make it happen was weakened on the Thanatos. The early start was staggered. He was hovering around that Bulba for a little bit too long. He was level 3 versus Cherio's level 5, but he managed to crawl back into the game off of a lot of team fighting. A lot of love there between Ducky and Nika.
Football, me, like, no, I'm not going to hug you. I had to deal with you all last year, and I kept on doing that again. Good performance out of Renegades. Good performance out of Obey, because we're starting to see these SPL teams now towards the end of the season solidifying what their game plans are, what their styles are going to be, heading towards the qualifiers or the World Championships directly. We get all the fun of watching these teams go out. Which meta is going to work out the best?
Obey Alliance are still in it in terms of the placements. They're not out of their chances towards qualifying.
And that's what they're working on now. Renegades, though, do qualify. After the break, we'll have an interview with them. But not only that, we turn our attention to find out if SK will stay in the running. Back after this.
Respawn, the official gaming chair of the SMITE Pro League.
Obey fought valiantly in all 3 games, but to no avail. It's Renegades who come out on top 3-0. And despite some ups and downs, it really was never in question. I do have Ryan Agro-Bailey here to help me break it down. Renegades continue to look like the top card in the entire SPL.
Yeah, I mean, Obey had some good moments, I think, in this set. They made a couple small comebacks, and you thought, okay, maybe this is actually going to happen. They had a lead at some point in this game.
Yep.
Ultimately, it just wasn't enough. For what it's worth, I do think Weekend played much better on this Thanatos than he did yesterday, but Mineral struggles continued. Moswell had another monster game on this Merlin. Ducky continued to do his role. Obey's just not as good of a team as the Renegades, and we knew that coming in today.
And I would say that if you're Obey, there is some positive you can take from this, because I think 2 of the games they lost in one team fight. Now, I'm not saying that that means that they would have won otherwise, but you can at least look back at these games and go, guys, what can we do to not lose fights by such a large margin? And that can be something they can start working on. Is it our fight selection? Is it not being able to make a coherent call within the fight to disengage? That seems to me like a pretty clear area where they can start working, is not letting fights get too out of control.
And this little pick on the weekend, right after Obey got Fire Giant, you felt like Obey was going to get some momentum to separate themselves. It just never really came to fruition. Just good team play by Renegades. Nika played well enough on this Thoth solo lane to make it work. The ultimates maybe not quite as impressive as the usage of the dash and of the hieroglyphic assaults, but honestly, the ultimate is probably the least important part of the Thoth kit to be landing consistently. So Renegades tried something a little bit new. Dardez is really sick at ROM. All that checks out to me.
Yeah, Dardez, turns out he's pretty good at just about everything that he plays, but ROM's certainly amongst that list. And Weekend went back to the Thanatos, and I like that. It's clearly something that they had been practicing, and I think that made sense here in this draft. They got a lot of their value picks here, and it still was not quite enough. So, I mean, it's no surprise, I don't think, to any Obey fans out there, there's a little bit more work they need to do if they want to beat a team like Renegades. But there's certainly a week where there's a lot of good stuff to take away if you are Obey and if you are their fans.
Yeah, I think this is a great week for Obey. This is almost ideal, honestly. Yep. For coming into this week, you've got 2 really tough matchups. You gain a lot of momentum, I think, by winning 1, and you got a ton of games worth of tape to go back and watch and improve from. Then against Renegades, you get brought back down to earth, realize your position in the SPL, but also have a lot of really good moments. I mean, Game 3, they had the lead, they got a Fire Giant, they were doing well. They need to learn how to close it out, but now they have the tape to learn. I mean, that's what's most important. Obey wasn't going to Worlds automatically no matter what.
Right.
It's all about that placement week. They got a lot of good tape this week in order to improve during that time.
Yeah, if you're going to be down there in that placement week battle royale, then Obey are not a team you're going to be able to easily overlook. A more and more crowded field it's starting to look like as you get closer and closer to the end here of Phase 2. Nika and Raffer, though, over on the side of Renegades, are standing by for the interview.
Thank you, Finch. Thank you, Agra. I'm here with Nika and also Raffer. Congratulations, first of all, towards qualifying to Hi-Res Expo. Nika, this is your first Worlds. How are you feeling?
I can't wait, honestly. I just want to play already. Obviously, it's I think some people will probably think I'll choke or something because it's first Worlds, but I just can't wait to play. And do you think I'll choke? Yeah, I just want to play, man. Since we were pretty much qualified, I just want to get to Worlds. Seeding doesn't matter that much, even though we want to finish second for easier bracket or whatever, but just want to get to the main event already.
I'm following that. Congratulations, first of all, for qualifying. It was a bit of an uphill battle for you guys with how the beginning of Phase 1 began and the scores carrying over, but with MSI, obviously, everyone kind of touted you guys to be the #1 team. Raf, how you feel about the team? You know, how you feel like the performance has gone so far this year? A couple more games to probably wrap up for the end of this, but Worlds around the corner.
Yeah, they're okay. I think they could put more energy into scrims and not troll it, but it's going well.
Coming from you.
Describe to me the evolution of this team. You put it together last minute, I guess, going into Season 6. Phase 1, 5-4 start into undefeated MSI, still undefeated now in Phase 2. How has the evolution been?
I think we just needed time to just find our playstyle, which is exactly what we did a week before MSI, and just keep playing it. No one can beat it right now, so we're just gonna keep doing the same. I think we all know how to play our meta perfectly, so I think that's just all that we need to do.
With the fans and the analysts probably starting to get the idea that you guys are the #1 favorites going into the World Championships, whatever your seeding is. How do you feel about that? Personally, Rafa, because you've been in that spot before, do you prefer the pressure of being seen as the #1 team, or would you rather be an underdog?
I'd say we're 10th seed. Always last. Never #1.
It's so weird as well, because I've always been on bottom teams. Literally bottom every time, other than Mouse, which was not bottom, but...
What was the change? Oh,
it
was me, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of feels weird for me to be on the top team, but I mean, it definitely feels good, not going into every game knowing you'll lose.
Even having the flexibility to go from an Osiris all the way to a Thoth in the solo lane, that would never have happened in the Mouse days, I'm sure.
Probably not, no.
All he plays is Thoth. He's pretty good at it.
Okay,
pretty good.
Last real question, I'd like an honest answer if possible. Who do you think your biggest competition is going to be at the World Championships?
I think Splice or Rival, personally.
Yeah, I think PK would have been really good, but with the roster changes, I think it will affect them. But yeah, as you said, Splice or Rival.
Yeah, for sure.
Or even E United, just never know with Emil.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Well, congratulations once again on qualifying your victory today. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.